Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I've got 45 Christmas Dollar Tree DIYs for you. These are Christmas projects I've made this year, all put together in one fun holiday video. So grab a candy cane and let's get started. For this DIY, I wanted to see if I can make a Santa stuck in a chimney, like Christmas flower box. I'm going to have to build it because I couldn't find anything at the Dollar Tree the size that I wanted. So I picked up the wood planks. They come 6 in a package of the squares, but I only need 5 to create a box. 4 sides and 1 for the bottom. And this is going to be the perfect size for those little booties that you see there. Those are Christmas ornaments from the Dollar Tree, and I thought we could make those into Santa's feet sticking out of the chimney. Now to paint the brick on here, I mixed a little bit of red and orange together, mostly red, to give me a really traditional Christmas brick color. And I'm going to paint the outside of our 4 panels here. These little wood planks are super easy to paint. As you can see, they really paint well. Like for red, usually you would have to go over, with multiple coats, but 1 coat was plenty. I did make sure to get all of the edges on my panels too, and I'm going to do the same thing for all 4 of these. I was thinking I can just hand paint a brick pattern on there. I couldn't find anything brick that was quite small enough for this, and so we will just make our own. I'm going to do the same thing here with all 4 of our panel pieces, and we're going to have one of them be the bottom piece. I did go ahead and paint the bottom piece too, just so the bottom of the box, just looks more finished, and it is red as well. But we're not going to do the brick pattern on the bottom because you won't be able to see that. So I have all these painted. I made sure to do the edges of the bottom one too. And up next, we'll do the brick pattern. I did let these dry, and I chose an orange paint pen, a Posca paint pen. It's kind of between an orange and a yellow. I thought this would kind of look like that grok color with the bricks. It's usually kind of this color. And I just drew lines on here for my bricks, just 4 straight lines, and then I'm going to draw the individual bricks on here, and then just kind of alternating them like a bricklayer would lay a chimney. And then using this as a guide so all of my bricks are kind of the same size, I'm going to continue that line on to my next side of the chimney and do 4 lines over here too, and just do bricks. So what I did was just do a pattern for 1 line, alternate for the line underneath of it, and then repeat the original line, and then repeat the second one like that all the way across. And I want it to look like bricks on all 4 sides of our chimney, so I just continue that pattern. It was really easy to do. I was looking at the brick removable wallpaper and stuff like that from the Dollar Tree, but those are like giant bricks. But it's really such an easy pattern to do. I kind of forgot that I do want some half of a brick there on the top, so I just did those lines but didn't finish it off. The reason being is that I want there to be snow on the top of the chimney. I thought that would look really cute for Christmas. And so I just need some partial bricks up at the top. So we have them all painted. Now it's time for snow. I did that with just some white acrylic, and I'm using just a sponge stencil dauber and just kind of putting it on like blobs of snow with the curve pattern, and I'm going to continue that all the way across. I am covering that bright red paint with the white acrylic paint, so I will have to do several coats to really make it bright white and look like it is snowy. And I'm just overlapping those partial bricks that we did there as well. I thought about trying to use something a little bit more textured. You could add a little bit of baking soda to yours if you wanted to give it a little bit more texture. I decided just to go over it with multiple coats to really make it look like thick snow. And I also did the very top there too, because I had painted that part of it red, but I definitely want that part to be snow. And let those start to set up. And then I'm just going to go over it with another couple of coats here. You really can't mess this up because snow can be really inconsistent. And it kind of looks better if you do it like that. Like if you do one piece of it a little bit lower than another one. And then I also want to kind of paint just the very top here, just in case you can see into the flower box a little bit. And I want to do like a Santa stuck in a chimney. But I thought the best way to do that would just be make a flower box out of it. So this is how I constructed my box. I'm going to use the wood Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to use them to make joints. So I'm going to glue this one onto the side piece like this, where it will be flat against the bottom. And then for the other piece, I alternated it. So it has more contact with the side piece like that. And then I can attach these with some hot glue to the base. I'm going to line this all the way up to the edge and then glue that down like that, trying to make sure I get kind of a 90-degree angle here. And I can always fix that in a little bit when I get it all put together. I'm going to do the opposite side now too. I did the same thing where I glued one on sideways and glued one on flat. The reason I do that is because one will have more contact with the side piece and one will have more contact with the bottom, and it'll make it stronger. And I hot glued those straight across from the other one, so this is what we have so far. Now we need to go in and put our side pieces on. The reason I have to use the Jenga blocks is because the wood is so thin. It's just a sturdier way to make this. I'm going to glue a piece here on the side on both sides to give me something to glue to. And then I'm also going to need a piece to glue the side to the bottom. So I glue that on here on the side. I only need one because I don't have a lot of room here. And then I'm going to glue all of this together. I put glue on the side pieces and one on the bottom. And this is the point where I can really kind of stretch it out, make sure that my corners are square, and secure it as needed. You're not going to be able to see inside the box. We're going to have foam and greenery in there, so you won't be able to see any of the construction of this. And I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side, where I do one on the bottom, one on each side, and glue this on. Now, the two side pieces, like this one and the one straight across from it, don't go all the way to the bottom. There is a very small gap in there just because of the construction of it, but you can't really tell. It will work great for like the faux greenery we're going to put into it, but this is what our little chimney flower box looks like so far. And now it's time to fill it up. I'm just going to use some of the little foam pieces from the Dollar Tree. I was trying to decide the best way. I think I like them like this, up and down. They work better that way. And I can take another piece and just kind of cut that up to fill in any of the remaining pieces, because I have some weird angles to work around in here, just to make sure that I fill up all of the space. And it's going to give me a great area to add the greenery to our little flower box. This is the greenery I'm going to use. I think it looks a little bit like holly. It's from the Dollar Tree. And then I want to make some Santa legs. I thought these were kind of shaped like boots, even though they are covered with like the sweater material. I've crafted with these many times, but I've never taken them apart. I've always just used them as is. And I am about to make an amazing discovery. I had no idea when I started this project that when you remove everything, so I used a little heat to remove the faux fur here and the sweater booty. Look what's underneath, a perfect Santa boot. I was so shocked. I thought it was going to look like a baby booty, and I thought I was really going to have to put a lot of effort to make it look like a Santa boot, but there are already Santa boots underneath there. I had absolutely no idea. I was so excited. I'm definitely going to have to pick up more of these now because they are so cute. Look at them. They are gray, and I want them to be black, and so really easy to paint them. I just used some black acrylic paint and went all over. And this made my job so much easier. The fact that they already looked like Santa boots, all they needed was a coat of paint. I'm also going to be doing Santa's legs, where it looks like he is stuck in the chimney. And I was trying to decide if I should put greenery in the flower box or if I should just fill it up with snow. But I thought a plant in there would look really cute. So that's what we're going to do. And I just painted one coat of black acrylic paint on those boots, and they are perfect and ready to go. For the legs, I'm going to use this little foam piece I found from the Dollar Tree. It is just like a little pole piece. If you can't find this exact piece, you could always use a wood dowel for this and a little bit of stuffing if you wanted to make it wide like this, but this was the perfect size for our Santa legs. I'm just going to cut them down to size 2 legs. I don't really need all of it, but most. And I want them to be the same length. And I'm going to use some skewers from the Dollar Tree to make some floral picks with those. To cover it, I'm going to use one of these little plush red stockings from the Dollar Tree. I chose the one that was really plush because I thought that would really look like a Santa suit. And it's just a matter of cutting the stocking in half to kind of make a panel of material that we can use for this. So I just cut the stocking in half. And one half of the stocking should be plenty to cover both of our Santa legs. We can save the other part for something else. I'm just trimming it up a little bit here just to make sure I don't have any seams getting in my way. And basically, I'm just going to roll this around it. So I just start with some hot glue and glue that to the little foam piece. I love that foam piece. I think that's the first time I've crafted with that from the Dollar Tree. It worked really well for this. And I made sure I had enough material where I could overlap a little bit. And I'm also going to trim this up here, and so it's not too long. And we can put this leg straight into the boot. I think it's going to look so cute and be exactly what I was envisioning. So I just secured that with a little bit of hot glue. We have one leg completed, and we can do the same thing here for the second leg. I just glued it on, and we are just going to cut it down here the exact amount of material. Also trim the length on it because it's a little long. And you know, I have DIY'd with those little boot ornaments so many times. I've made gnomes, all kinds of fun things with them. I never ever knew they had Santa boots underneath of them. That just opens up a whole new world. And I just slid the little boot on. And then for the fur, I was trying to decide how to do that. I thought I could just use the fur that came on the ornament, but I wanted a thinner strip. So I just kind of cut it in half, and it got a thinner strip, and that didn't have any of the sweater on there, so it worked out perfectly. A good clean strip of white fur, and I'm going to attach that to the boots, just going around the top of the Santa boots like that. And I think that's perfect. That's exactly what I was thinking for Santa stuck in the chimney. I did secure it with a little bit of hot glue here on the front too to make sure it stays in place, but we have one of our little Santa legs done, and I'm going to do the same thing here for the other side, just kind of cutting the top half off for a thin strip of craft fur. I love having red plush fabrics and white furs really in stock for the holidays. I love a good Santa DIY. And I just secured this around this boot. Just like that, we'll put our second little leg in. And we have two Santa legs. Now for the skewers, they're a little bit long. So I'm just going to cut them down a little bit here and leave the pointy ends on the bottom so I can put that down into the foam. When we go to put him in our chimney, I just put that down inside these foam pieces. And easy peasy, we have two Santa legs. I absolutely love how these turned out. I think I'm going to do something like that, where they're kind of going out in two different directions, kind of like that. Now time for the greenery. I have actually used this for something else, but I had most of the package of it still. I'm going to cut it down into individual pieces. But I still want enough of a wire stem on there that I can put it down into the floral foam. So I just kind of cut the pieces apart to make that happen. And just cutting them with some wire cutters. I want to cover the entire box. And I think this looks really cute. Any kind of like Christmas greenery, I think you're going to be okay with. I thought this kind of looked a little bit kind of like holly, and without any red berries or anything like that. But I thought it was a nice contrast against the red brick and the red Santa legs. And we just filled up the entire box with that. This is what it looks like so far, but now we need Santa stuck in the chimney. So I just put our first little Santa leg pick down inside our plant, and here is the second one, kind of going off to the sides like that, kind of backwards. And this is how it turned out. It is so cute. I really love this DIY. Let me give you a little close-up of how it turned out. A little Santa stuck in the chimney. So fun. Originally, when I was going to do this, I was going to make it like a hanging sign, but I'm really glad that I decided to make the little flower box there at the bottom. I think it just all goes together so well. Well, what do you guys think about this one? We're going to make a grapevine reindeer. I wanted to make a wreath for my front door, and I wanted it to look like a reindeer. So I'm going to use 2 of the grapevine wreath forms. the smaller ones like this and put them together. One can be the reindeer head and one can be the body. Now, I used to be able to find these at Dollar Tree, and I haven't been able to find them there in a while, so I actually got mine on Amazon, and they were a pretty good deal. I'll make sure to put them in my Amazon shop, linked in the description, if you want some this size. And I think they're pretty cheap buying them at other craft stores as well. I just tied the two together with a little bit of twine there, and that is going to be the neck of our reindeer. So cute. And then I wanted to see if I could kind of make antlers. I think I like this side for the head. I also bought some of the grapevine like this. And I've bought this on Amazon. I've also bought it on Temu before. And I thought I could make just my antlers out of this. Just have them be branches. You could always use some branches too from a tree if you had something that would work. But I don't. So I'm going to try to DIY it. But I don't want to forget the reindeer's ears. I'm going to make those with these as well. And I think I'm going to start there. So I cut a little piece off, probably a little bit bigger than I need for both of the ears. And we'll have the ears go out the side, the antlers go out like the very top of our little reindeer. And I trimmed it off where my wire is longer than my grapevine. So I can use that wire to wrap around. And I want to try to bend it. It's kind of hard to bend this without like breaking it. But if you do break it, it's pretty easy to keep it together because the wire has wrapped around it. And I'm going to take that wire and I'm going to put that through my grapevine and wrap that around. Like kind of inside of it is what I was thinking. And I try to poke my branches into it so it makes it look like it's kind of all one piece. So a little bit of working with that to get that exactly the way we want it. Right now, it kind of looks like a bear ear. So I'm going to try to make it look a little bit smaller, but I think we can make it work. You just want like a little bit of a pointy ear, I think. For the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kind of make the wire go off to the side in a safe place, trim off some of this grapevine. That way I don't have to use any wires for the initial attachment of these. And bend this one, trying not to break it if I can. And trying to keep this symmetrical, I'm going to put it just about the same place right over here. And I just put the wire right inside. And I haven't worked with grapevine wreaths very much, probably because I used to be able to find them at Dollar Tree, but I haven't been able to find them there in a long time. And then I am going to put them through here. And they're pretty inexpensive. I'm really not sure why they don't carry them anymore, but they have supplies with the wreath forms all the time. So there are my two reindeer ears. Trying to make sure they are symmetrical, and I want it to be a little skinnier. I thought this one kind of looked like a bear ear a little bit, so moved it over a little bit so it would be a little bit skinnier of an ear, and I think that works. We can always reinforce these if we need to, make them a little bit stronger. I just want to make sure that all of my branches are kind of tucked in. It's all one unit. I'm going to be putting this outside, so I'm going to need it to hold up to weather as well. I think that looks pretty good. So now that we have that done, we can start on the antlers. I am going to have one long antler, and they kind of bend like this, but I'm going to kind of try to straighten it out a little bit, but a little bit of bend is okay. It'll give it a little bit of character. I'm going to cut out two of the long branches so they will be the same length. And I am going to just kind of straighten it out a little bit. I think that's okay. Have it kind of go out to the side like that. And then I'm going to unwind the wire on this as well, make this a little shorter, where I can put the wire back down in here just like we did the ears. That way the branches kind of go inside. I try to fit it in there as much as I can and wrap the wire around. I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. I want that to be mirrored, trim, and wire this on. Now I do want this to have like different branches coming off of it. And I'm going to do that with the grapevine too. I wanted all of this to be that shape. And I kind of had the idea to make this because I have bought like the grapevine bunny rabbit wreath at the Dollar Tree, like at the Dollar Tree Plus. And I was like, I probably could make like a reindeer that was made out of grapevine that would be really cute too. So now that we have those placed and all wired in, I'm going to need some smaller pieces. I'm going to cut one piece here that can be like two branches. I can have it kind of go out both sides like that. And I don't really want to wrap it around. I'm actually going to kind of pull apart the grapevine here and slide that on to my antler so it'll be physically attached. I don't want this falling off. Just about right here, I think. And again, you can bend it because it has the wire in there, and you're going to want to try to bend it as much as you can without breaking it. Now, I did think it needed a little bit more stability, so I do have a little bit of wire. This is hardware wire that I got from the Dollar Tree. You could also use any kind of floral wire, whatever you can find. And I am going to wrap that around just like that. I've been having trouble finding wire at the Dollar Tree too. They need to get it together. Now for my second piece, I am going to just have one branch, I think, come out. So I shorten this, add the wire to this, and have this coming out of the side like that. Just one side to make it look a little bit asymmetrical. And that didn't feel like it was very strong, so I went back in there with some wire and kind of tied this together too, just wrapping that around until it feels like it's sturdier. I definitely don't want this falling apart. When I got to the end, I just kind of turn it, and then trim off the excess wire. So we have one antler done. So let's try to do the same thing. I'm going to cut another piece, the same here for the two pieces. And the same thing, I'm going to just slide it on. That worked really well before. And I'm just going to mirror image what I have on the other side. So just going to shape this a little bit. If I need some wire, I just add some wire. I was glad that I did have a little bit of wire because I didn't know if I was going to need it, because I knew that the grapevine does have wire on there. But having a little bit of extra wire to be able to reinforce things like this did seem to make it a lot better. And I like the fact that it's bendable too, so I can have the branches kind of coming out from the door a little bit too, and it's going to give him even more personality. So I'm going to cut one more piece down here, just like the other side, and we're going to have that go out to the side, leaving a little bit of extra wire on there like that. And we have the structure of our reindeer. This is exactly what I envisioned. If you wanted to do a smaller wreath, you could just do the top ring, but it seemed a little on the small side for me. That's why I went ahead and did the body too. Or if you want to really make this project bigger, you could use a larger grapevine wreath form and just do the head. And just making sure everything is sturdy here. The antlers that I made seem like they are. And then I'm going to make a simple hanger here with some more twines so that I can hang that on the wreath hanger on my door. Now, of course, I want to make him look like Rudolph, so I'm going to use a little Christmas ornament for his nose. These are from the Dollar Tree, the little mini ornaments, the red one. I really like the finish of this one. I just removed the top of the ornament like that, and I'm actually going to glue the top of the ornament down inside the grapevine wreaths. That way it'll be a little bit sturdier right here in the center. So I add some hot glue to that and put that right down into the grapevine on this top wreath form there for a perfect little nose for our Rudolph. And then I thought he needed a bow, but I didn't want to make anything too big. So I'm going to use some of the red and black buffalo check wired ribbon from the Dollar Tree. And we're going to do a very small bow because I don't want it to cover up his nose. So I just kind of wrap that around. We're going to do a faux bow like this, just crisscross it in the front. And I am just going to tie that off with some twine that I can then tie on to the twine that I have hanging the wreaths together to go around his neck a little bit. I did dovetail it first. And again, just a really simple bow. I thought about using a Dollar Tree bow, but I couldn't really find any that I like, and it's so easy to make a bow. I just tied the twine here like this, and making sure I have it centered, knotting that, pulling down both of my tails. I've already dovetailed it, and I can just hang it here. I was trying to figure out how the best way to do that, and then I was like, I have this twine right here, so I'll just feed this twine through and be able to tie this off. That way it'll not be necessarily in the middle of his neck, because that would cover up the nose, but it hangs down just a little bit. Almost like where you would wear like a bow tie for this little guy. But I think he definitely needed a pop of color, and this is how he turned out, our little reindeer wreath. I'm really pleased with him. I think he's going to look so festive on my door for Christmas. Look how cute. I love him. A classic for sure. Let me give you a little closer look of how our reindeer wreath turned out. Now, if Dollar Tree still has any of these little grapevine wreaths at your Dollar Tree, you can make it with those. Otherwise, Amazon and Temu is where I have gotten mine, but I'm sure if you have some other crafting stores, I don't have a big variety, you can get them there too. And that's so cute. We're going to use the 24-inch stackable tree decor from Dollar Tree, and we're going to see if we can make this look like a gingerbread house. I've seen lots of people try to make them look like a gingerbread cookie, and I thought maybe we can make it look like a gingerbread house. So I tried at first to test some acrylic paint because I thought that would be easier than using spray paint. These are always so difficult to paint, the plastic that these are made out of. But as you can see, that was going to take so much paint. So I have some Nutmeg of the Rust-Oleum 2X spray paint, and that's what we're going to use. I had heard that people could not get this kind of spray paint to stick to the gifts. I don't know if the gifts are different or I'm just luckier that it was warmer here in Florida, but I didn't have any problems with this spray paint. I went over all of the Christmas tree with one layer of the spray paint, and it did a really good job of turning that bright green, this brown color, perfect for the cookie. The nutmeg color, I think, is key. So I tried to do it with acrylic, but there was just no way. I wasn't going to have enough paint, and it probably would have taken me so many coats. So spray paint, I think, is the way to go. I do end up sealing this to try to make sure this paint stays on because, again, the plastic on these is a little bit iffy. I have DIY'd the stackable Christmas tree before. I've melted holes all over it with my heat gun and strung Christmas lights through it. So that is a fun DIY that I plan to display again this year. But I wanted to see if I could do a gingerbread take on it. So I painted all 3 pieces of the stackable Christmas tree with that nutmeg color. It's kind of like 3 DIYs really because there's so much to do on each part. But it's probably a good thing they come apart like this because it makes the project a little bit more manageable. And I really hope that that is hot glue on my box and not a spider web because I can't believe I didn't notice that because that probably would have creeped me out, right? And I am just going over all of it. It probably is a spider web because this box was in my garage, but I am making sure I have good coverage and that you can't see any of the green, but I'm trying not to get it on too thick that I have like a lot of dripping. I did notice that I didn't do a very good job on the top piece, so I did paint that a little bit more to make sure I got on the underside of the tree. But if you have the time, I would recommend 2 thinner coats of paint instead of just 1 coat like I did. Now we're going to decorate it. I found these little wood discs at Michael's. Let me check the price for you. It looks like they're about $6 regular price, so you can always try to use a Michael's coupon to get these a little bit cheaper. But what you're going to get is 22 count of the 1.5-inch wood discs. We are going to turn these into little peppermint candies. I designed a peppermint image and I did the print and cut feature on my Cricut. I thought that would be a lot easier than cutting out the circles. And so I just printed it on cardstock and let my Cricut cut that out. Now I will include the SVG if you would like to do the print and cut too. I was only able to get 20 of them on my sheet of paper, making them at least 1.5 inches so they will cover the entire wood disc. But I also include an entire sheet of these. If you don't have a Cricut and you just want to print them and cut them out, they're perfect little peppermints. And if you print them out at 100% and cut them out, you should have the same thing. But I thought, hey, I don't like cutting circles. Let's let the Cricut do it for me. So I cut out 20 of those. I have 20 of the wood discs. And this is going to be like a lot of the decoration on our gingerbread house tree. So I just put down some Mod Podge and then put down my cardstock and just kind of pushed it down with a paper towel. They do kind of have a rounded edge, so I found picking them up and kind of molding them around the top of that edge is fine. You do kind of see the raw wood on the sides of these, which I'm totally fine with. I didn't really want to paint them. I thought that would interfere with the glue when I go to attach them to that plastic tree. And since the plastic's a little tricky anyway, I thought leaving them just raw wood would be great. But I think this was a pretty good deal, about $6 to make all of these candies. Anytime I've tried to get any of like the peppermint candies and stuff like this for decor, it can be really expensive and hard to find. So I thought making them would be the way to go. So I'm just gluing them all on with the Mod Podge. Once I get them on, I'm also going to seal the top of them. And I also kind of want to make them a little bit shiny. There's not going to be any packaging on them. They're just going to be the mint. And basically, it's like the decor that I'm going to use to decorate my house since it's going to be a gingerbread house, right? I thought that would be perfect. So once I got them all on there, I just went over the top of all of them with some more of that matte finish Mod Podge to seal those on there. And once I get that done, then I decided, oh yeah, I wanted them to be a little bit glossy. So I decided to go over them with some gloss Mod Podge too, just to give them a little bit of a candy shine. And I'm really happy with how these turned out. And if you have a Cricut machine, I highly recommend doing the print and cut. You might have to calibrate it if you haven't used it in a while, but it is a great feature if you can get it to work right. So we have all of these candies done. We're also going to be adding some other like little candy beads, but this is it for right now on the peppermint. The next thing I did was I cut down windows and doors for a gingerbread house. I also cut these out on cardstock. This was not a print and cut. This was just a cut file, and I will share these with you. I designed this little gingerbread door SVG with a little heart cut out. I thought that would be cute for a gingerbread theme. And then I designed arched windows in 3 different sizes. Since I have 3 different sizes of the Christmas tree, I needed the windows to be different heights. So the smallest windows I cut out were 1 inch tall. That's going to go on the very top of my Christmas tree. And I cut out 4 of those. The medium-sized windows I made were 1.5 inches tall, and I cut out 6 of those. That's going to go on the middle section of our Christmas tree. And then the tallest windows I did were 2 inches. And I did a total of 7. I would have done 8, but I'm going to have the door, so I only needed 7. And the door I cut out at 3 inches tall. So I did 1, 1.5, 2, and 3 inches are my dimensions on those when you go to cut them out. I would just share the file, but Cricut is weird about that. So I'll have to share the window SVG and the door SVG if you would like to recreate. And I just used cardstock for that. You could use vinyl, but I didn't think it would stick very well to this plastic, so I decided just to use cardstock. Now it's time to seal the tree. I'm using this matte finish sealer from Krylon. And I thought I would use matte finish because it would kind of give me that cookie texture of a finish. And I just did 1 coat all over the tree once my spray paint had dried on all 3 of my pieces. So we're just going to seal those. And we can keep working on decor pieces for this. I was trying to do that while I was letting my paint dry, which can be a little challenging here with the humidity. Now for the next item, I'm going to use some of these little stickers from the Dollar Tree, and they're pastel colors, but I want them to look like Christmas candies. So I want them to be bright white and bright red, right? So I went over all of them with some white acrylic paint, and it definitely did take multiple coats to cover up those pastel glittery colors that were on there before. But I just went ahead and painted all of them so that I would have plenty of little like candy shapes that we could use for the tree. And they are stickers that the stickiness on them is not great though. I did try to stick them to the tree, but again, the plastic is a little iffy on those. And so I did end up gluing them all on. So I cut this in half so I could do half of them in white, half of them in bright red. Now that I got these painted white, it was really easy to make these red. And we'll have little candies to go along with our little peppermints that we can use to decorate our giant gingerbread house. My husband told me I should have lit it up, and I was like, I thought about cutting out the windows, but this DIY was actually a lot of work, so I was like, no, I'm okay with it not lighting up. Now to make my candy shiny, I went over it with some gloss finish Mod Podge to make those little candies shine. And we're going to set that aside, let those dry, and now we can start decorating our Christmas tree. I wanted to attach my door first because I thought it would probably interfere with the ribbon, the rickrack that I'm going to use for icing on our gingerbread house. And I wanted that to go kind of all the way to the bottom there of the largest part of the tree. So I just put Mod Podge on there, matte finish Mod Podge, attached my cardstock tree, and then Mod Podged on top. But I'm also Mod Podging everywhere. As much sealing as we can do on this paint, the better. So I want to make sure that I Mod Podge everything, not just where I add the doors and windows. This is the rickrack that I'm going to use. This is the white rickrack, and I did get this at Michael's as well. It was the 5/8 inch wide, and it was 4 yards long, and it's normally $6. I got it half price for $3. And I thought it would make the perfect frosting here to go on our gingerbread house. So I just went around the very bottom of the Christmas tree, but not overlapping the door. I want the door to kind of be separate. So I started and stopped there and just attached it with hot glue ever so often. I'm going to do the same thing here for the next level of the Christmas tree, just attaching this at the very bottom and gluing it just wherever I thought needed it. Now, I thought this would be an easier way than trying to use puffy paint or anything like that on it. But, there's lots of different options if you're not able to find any rickrack, but I think it looks really cute. I love that touch for a gingerbread house. Now that I have that on there, we can start working on the windows. So we have the door, we have the rickrack, and now the windows. Since I already have a door on this one, I'm only going to do 3 windows on the very bottom. And I'm just trying to kind of space those out what I think looks even. So I had the door on one side, I have 3 more windows, and then I'll do 4 windows on the next tier of the tree there too. And I'm going to kind of stagger them all over. So no matter what direction you're looking at the gingerbread house tree, you're going to see some windows. So you'll kind of get that gingerbread house vibe, which I was going for. I've seen so many cute ways people have decorated these with a gingerbread theme, but I thought a gingerbread house would be a really fun take on it. So I just did the same thing. As you can see, I'm sealing everything with that Mod Podge because I definitely want to seal as much of that paint as possible. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. We can move on to the middle piece of the Christmas tree. Now, if you're going to use rickrack, it is really important that you get 4 yards. 4 yards was the perfect amount. I had measured this, so I knew I would have enough, but I mean, I barely had enough. And I think that 5/8 inch is a really good scale for a project this size since it's so large. And I had so much fun putting this together. This was a labor of love. I think the most time was just waiting for my spray paint to dry. But decorating it was really fun. Now, if you wanted to use like spackle, puffy paint, you could do that too and just do squiggles instead of using the rickrack. But I think that provides a fun texture. And now it's time to attach the windows to this section too. So I did a total of 6 windows for this part of the tree. So I'm only going to have 3 this time instead of 4 since it's skinnier on this part of the tree. And I'm just going around every like 1/3 and trying to put like a window here. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just kind of eyeballing that. And then for the other layer, I just put Mod Podge down and do the same thing. Now, I thought cardstock would be a little bit easier to work with. It was pretty easy to Mod Podge these down and a little bit thicker than the vinyl, but if you wanted to cut yours out of white vinyl, it would probably work. I'm just concerned with how well it would adhere to that strange plastic material. Now it's time for the very top of the Christmas tree. And I am again going to do each layer here with the rickrack ribbon. And you'll see here in a minute how I use the entire 4 yards for this project. I was hoping I would have a little bit left over. Craft supplies in my town besides Dollar Tree are very hard to find. With Joann's going out of business, my Walmart renovated and got rid of half of their craft supplies, and Michael's doesn't have much either. And so I'm like, well, no wonder why I buy all my craft supplies at Dollar Tree or Amazon or Temu because the shopping here was really hard to find stuff. Now, this section is the smallest section. I only did 2 windows for each section, so a total of 4. And again, I'm going to kind of space those out, alternating them and sealing everything with that matte finish Mod Podge. And we have all of the windows on. We have all of the rickrack on. For the very top, instead of doing a tree topper, I just wanted it to be a pile of icing on the top of my gingerbread house that could also look like snow. So I'm using some of this Dollar Tree caulking, and I didn't put a tip or anything on it. I just kind of went around in circles until I have a big dollop of like icing here on top. Originally, I thought about making a chimney since it is a house, but I really couldn't find a way to make that work. So I think the frosting up there is a fun touch, and it was definitely easier than trying to construct a chimney on the top of it. Now it's time to add the candy. We have our DIY peppermint that we made. I was concerned about adhesion, so I'm going to use some strong glue, the Gorilla Glue Clear Grip, and I went around the edges with that, but then I also did a little bit of hot glue in the middle. The hot glue will let it dry like quickly and hold it on there, and then hopefully that Gorilla Glue Clear Grip will come in and make it bond more permanently because I don't want these candies falling off. And as you can see, I'm going to put them everywhere, like between every window and every door. I have plenty of space there since this is kind of a larger candy, and just alternating those around. And I just added both types of glue to each piece, and that seemed to work really well. And anytime I can decorate like a gingerbread theme with like red and white candy, I think it just goes together so well. This is the middle section of our gingerbread Christmas tree. And I'm going to do the same thing everywhere. So if I have like 3 windows, I'll have 3 candies on a section and just gluing those on as well. I think I'll go back and do the little candy buttons after I get all of my peppermint on. 20 ended up being too many. I think I only needed a total of 18, but it's always good to have extras of these in case something happens to them. You never know what's going to happen when you're crafting, right? So this is the top section. I did 2 on each level, and now we can start on the little candy buttons. I thought we could put these anywhere we have space, and they would provide little pops of white and red to go with that candy theme. Have a very well decorated gingerbread house. So at first I started out just trying to test out the sticker, seeing how well they would stick. I got they started working, and then some of them were really not working. And so I decided to start gluing them on. I didn't really want to use hot glue. I thought that would be a lot of work. And so what I did was I ended up switching to tacky glue here. And I just put some here on my silicone mat, and I actually kind of dipped my stickers in the tacky glue, and that worked really well. Tacky glue does bond really strong. It's great for projects like this when you don't want to use your hot glue. And no burnt fingers by attaching all of these little candy buttons. And I really don't have any rhyme or reason on these. I'm just making sure that I don't have any excess paint since I did paint over than just the circles. I want to make sure that they're still round. So when I peel them off, I just kind of round them off too. I also used a candy for the doorknob. Now for the middle section, we're going to do the same thing. Just alternate little red and white candies all around. And I have a really fun idea to finish this off to really make it look magical. And I love how this turned out. I think I'm going to use this as an indoor DIY for my Christmas decorations, but I don't see why you couldn't use it outdoors. I did seal the paper pretty well. The rickrack might get a little discolored depending on the weather. I don't know. I think it probably would hold up outdoors, but I think I'm going to leave mine indoors because it's so cute. So here is our final section here of our 3-piece tree. More of the red and white candies. And I wasn't sure, I didn't want to overdo it on the candies, but you'll see here in a minute that I did go back and add more. The more the merrier when you're decorating a gingerbread house, right? And so that is the final step to these sections. Now I have this one decorated. We can start putting all of it together. So here's the bottom. We're going to click and pop on the middle section. And then we'll also add the top section, and I'll show you how cute this gingerbread house Christmas tree turned out. It looks so different than the green one that I have that has the lights on it. Look how cute it looks like so far. I really love it. I analyzed it. I thought it needed more candy buttons. And so, as you can see, I added more candy buttons. Now, here is the magic. I bought some white glitter at Walmart and some spray adhesive. I couldn't find any spray glitter in white, so we're just going to make our own. I just sprayed with spray adhesive and then I sprinkled with the white glitter from Walmart. And this worked out perfectly. It was really easy to do. That glitter has a shaker on it. So I just simply sprayed the glue and then shake the little glitter on there. Make sure you put something down first to catch all of your glitter, or otherwise you will have glitter all over your house. But I think that final step really gave it that magical gingerbread house feel. I love it when I have a glittery gingerbread house. I think it looks so cute for Christmas. Let me show you how it turned out. Our giant 2-foot tall gingerbread house Christmas tree. What do you guys think about this one? I think it was a really fun take, and you guys know I love to do gingerbread crafting for this time of year. Isn't that so cute? And you can kind of see how large it really is. And I also wanted to show you the glittery sparkle in all of its glory. Isn't that so pretty? I love the fact that I added the glitter. This DIY is going to be a Santa suit wreath. I had the idea to try to make a wreath with some of the red craft fur from the Dollar Tree. For the wreath form, I'm using the 14-inch, so maybe the medium size of the wreath form. And I only could find 3 rolls of this red craft fur, so I'm hoping that it's going to be enough to cover the entire wreath. So I flipped the wreath form over, and I'm just going to use a small amount here so I don't waste any, and hot glue that to itself, wrapping that around the inner wire. And the fur kind of goes in one direction, so you kind of have to go the same way. And I want to slightly overlap these, but not too much because I really want this to go a long way. And I wrap it around. That is about how far one piece of the craft fur gets me. I was thinking Santa suit with this one, so the red fur definitely reminds me of Santa's suit. I'm going to go ahead and start a new package of this craft fur by continuing that one piece on. So I'm not really going to start and stop. I'm just going to glue them to each other here, one on top of the other, and keep this going for a ribbon to completely go around the wreath form. My plan for this wreath is to make it kind of like a Santa suit. So I want it to be red fur. And then I have an idea for a fun Santa belt that we can put across it. I thought that would be really cute. Kind of simple, but I really like how it turned out. The fur just makes it look kind of bougie. This is how far the second package got me. And I'm going to start my third package. It was almost enough to go all the way around. You'll see here, I was able to make it work, but I felt like there were like maybe a few gaps in there that I didn't really want. I don't want you to be able to see any of that metal wreath form through. So I'll show you what I do here in a second to kind of make it work. If you're going to cover this size wreath form, I would really suggest getting 4 packages of the craft fur at your Dollar Tree. And this is what I did. I had a tiny piece left over from another DIY. It kind of had been glued before, but I made it work. I just glued it to that and continued that on just to make sure that I had good coverage here for my Santa wreath. I'm just going to glue that to itself just like the way that I started, and so easy. And look how fluffy it looks. Now, it does look kind of wild, so I did try to tame it a little bit by wrapping that around. I even tried brushing it with a brush. I found kind of pushing it down kind of worked a little bit better, but I did try to brush it. Maybe a comb would work a little bit better. But just so it's not so wild and all of my fur is kind of going in the same direction is my goal here. Now for the belt, I thought we could make a big black leather belt to go across it. I'm using the black faux leather from the Dollar Tree. This has only been a quarter for a while, so I've definitely been stockpiling this, but it works great for a Santa belt. I'm going to use the yardstick here to give me a straight edge, just so I can kind of sketch this out to make sure that my belt is a straight line. I just used a chalk pencil there on the back. And this faux leather from the Dollar Tree is so easy to work with. It's so easy to cut. I'm just going to cut along that chalk line, and we have a belt that can go around the center of the wreath form. And this is what I was thinking. And then I thought we could do a fun belt buckle for Santa Claus. I found this foil cardstock at Dollar Tree. And I know that these do come in different colors. So it's silver on top, but I think there's a gold one in here. This is perfect. Look how shiny that is. It's just a little piece of gold cardstock. Now, if you don't have a Cricut machine, you could just cut this out. You could cut it into a rectangle with another rectangle inside of it. But since I do have a Cricut, I decided to try to get fancy with this, and we're going to use my Cricut Joy Extra to cut this out. I do have this free SVG that I designed that I will put in the description below if you would like to recreate. I put mine on a standard grip, and I probably should have put it on a light grip, but I was able to get this all off, and I created this really fancy belt buckle for Santa Claus. I thought it looked like something he would definitely wear, and it's just a matter of getting it off the sticky mat. I definitely don't want to tear it. This cardstock was really heavyweight, and so I was able to get it on there, but I am definitely being careful at this process at least. And there we go. We have our fancy belt buckle. I think it looks so cool. Now, I was worried about it being paper and being outside and whether it would hold up or not. And so I think I'm going to seal it just to make it a little bit more weatherproof. It is really kind of glossy on top. The bottom side is like a shinier cardstock, but I thought we should seal it. I'm going to use this Mod Podge gloss to try to seal it. It's like a spray sealer. And I'm going to flip it over and seal the back first. That's the part I'm most worried about. And this part actually did good because as you can see, it was kind of curled up. But when I sprayed it with the sealer and then went over it with a little heat to dry it, it flattened the entire thing right out and made it perfect to work with. See how it just immediately became flat? So that worked really well. So I'm going to do the same thing here to the other side. I used a gloss sealer because I definitely wanted my belt buckle to still be shiny gold like it started out. And so that won't interfere with that at all. And I just did one coat on both, and hopefully that will make it hold up outdoors a little bit better. For my belt, I just try to find the center of my belt here by folding that in half, and we're just going to attach the belt buckle. I designed it specifically for the size that I cut here of the belt. You might need to resize yours depending on what size belt that you create. And then I just put some hot glue here on the back, and I'm going to glue this on. Definitely making sure that the black leather covers the inside of the buckle. Now to put it on, I'm going to wrap it across the wreath form like this. I think that's going to look so cool. I was trying to decide which way a guy's belt goes compared to a girl's belt, and I think this is correct. And so I'm going to flip it over, add some hot glue, and glue the leather to the back of the wreath. Make sure you pull it tight enough so that it is strong enough to keep the belt buckle in place. It is pretty lightweight, but you don't want it to sag there in the front. Now for a hanger, I thought this red glitter ribbon from the Dollar Tree would be perfect. This is Christmas ribbon, and it just sparkles and glitters. I think it's perfect for a posh Santa. I'm going to flip it over and then just kind of find the wire wreath form in there in between the fur and put that through so I can just wrap that directly around the wire. I did like the middle one, and I'm going to simply hot glue the ribbon to itself like that, and then kind of hide that seam down inside the wreath form like that. And that will serve the purpose to hold our little Santa wreath. And this is how it turned out, our little faux fur Santa wreath. I think it's so whimsical and fun. Let me give you a closer look of how this turned out. I kind of love the wild nature of the red craft fur, but if you could only find like a shorter pile, like if you wanted to use like maybe one of the Santa scarves they have from the Dollar Tree, I think that would be really cute too if you can't find the craft fur. But here it is, our little fur Santa wreath. I think it's so much fun. The next Christmas DIY is really easy. I picked up a 5x7 frame at the Dollar Tree, and I designed a free printable of Santa, very classic, and I will share a link to that free printable in the description down below. Just look for this DIY and you'll find the link, and you can print one out too. I printed mine out on cardstock, For the frame, I just got one of these faux wood frames from the Dollar Tree in a 5x7. It's dark brown, but it's got a great texture on there. So I thought we could add in a few other colors of brown and really make it special. So first I use this color, I believe this is called Nutmeg, and I just kind of went all over, really kind of covering up the dark brown, and I went around the edges as well. Since it has all this texture on there, you can still see different colors coming through, but this is what it looked like dried. So it's still kind of one color. So I added a little ivory paint to that same color to give me a lighter color, and then I distressed over that just very lightly so those darker brown colors shine through. And I really like that look. It made it look like old weathered wood. And just don't forget your edges when you're doing that as well. Super easy. I'm going to kind of blot this with a dry paper towel because I don't want to wipe it off because I like the look of it. I just want it to be a little bit less intense. And that seemed to work really well. And as you can see, I painted and distressed the edges too because you will be able to see those. Now for the printable, I printed mine out on cardstock because what I'm going to do is attach it to the glass that goes inside the frame. You could always put it in there like traditionally, like the picture behind the frame. I like to put it on top. So I'm going to sketch it out with a pencil so I know exactly how big I want it to be. And I'm going to cut my cardstock down. And the reason that I like to print on cardstock, it's so much easier to Mod Podge. And that's what I want it to do. I want it to look like almost like a painting or an art print, which is one reason why I like to do it on the top of the glass. And the glass is a perfect smooth surface for this. I've done this a million times and it always works out great. So I take some Mod Podge and I put that all over the glass, making sure not to miss any spots so that I can just attach that. It's just a transparent background. And then the Santa Claus, a classic Santa Claus, and the word believe. I think that's really cute. And my printable is 5x7, but you could probably resize that if you wanted to do a larger one or a smaller one, depending on what kind of frame you have. And then I'm going to seal it with some more Mod Podge, just like this. And try to make sure I don't have any bleeding. Sometimes red can bleed a little bit, but I did let this printable sit for a bit, so it should be definitely dry. I dried that and went over it with one more thin coat to really seal this. And now we can just pop this glass back in the frame and we have a really beautiful art print, and we can use the back. So we can hang it, we can use it with a stand. I think I'm going to use mine with a stand. And this is going to look so cute with some of my other Christmas decor. Very classic Christmas, very vintage looking. And now you can see up close the texture of that frame. It's one reason I like those frames from the Dollar Tree. They may not be real wood, but that texture is incredible, especially if you do something like this with it. All those browns just really made it special. And there it is, our little Santa DIY, a very easy Christmas DIY. I hope you're enjoying today's video. If you are, be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'd really appreciate it if you would hype this video. Okay, this is what we're decorating next. This is my cabinet in my kitchen area and next to my dining table, and I want to do the entire cabinet with a gingerbread theme. I have 3 shelves to decorate on there, and I wanted to do a backdrop. I thought this tablecloth from Dollar Tree would be a really fun backdrop. It's bright red with white snowflakes all over, and I thought if I put this on the back of my cabinet, I could really make some fun designs here, and it would give a lot to the projects in front of it, I think. So it is a little bit rounded here, and so I'm going to start it off just by cutting the top of the tablecloth straight. It is felt lined, but it's still really thin. And I'm going to try to straighten that up a little bit here. Now I have one straight edge. Now I can take it to my cabinet. I'm using a little bit of duct tape here. I think that will be strong enough to hold it up, but easy enough to remove. And I'm going to do that in the corners of my cabinet. I removed all of my shelves so that I could do the backdrop. And I know it's oversized. We're going to cut it down to size. But first, I'm going to duct tape all the corners. I also did a piece of duct tape on each side, and it was plenty large enough to cover the entire backdrop. And I've never done that before on a DIY for you guys to do the backdrop, but I have lots of birthday party decorating experience and school party decorating experience, so I always love a good backdrop. I cut it with my razor blade, which almost made it through the felt, but I did have to go in a couple of areas and finish cutting it with my scissors. I was trying not to cut my cabinet, only cutting the tablecloth if I could. And I'm really pleased with how this turned out. I think it's really bright and cheerful and will be a great backdrop for all the gingerbread men and houses we're going to add to all of these shelves. So this is the very bottom shelf we're going to decorate. So the last place we'll have to cut this. And I was able to cut it down kind of custom size. I guess you could do the same thing if you wanted to measure it. Measuring is usually not my strong point. So I just went ahead and kind of winged it. This is how it turned out. It filled up my entire cabinet. I went ahead and popped my shelves back in it. And now you can see how that backdrop really pops there at the back of my cabinet. Now, for each one of the shelves, I'm going to line it with the snow blankets. These are the ones that I got at Dollar General. It's just kind of wherever you can find them. They're pretty inexpensive. This one was pretty big from the Dollar General. I'm going to take this and kind of measure how big I'm going to need these to be for the shelves. So I measure one of them, and then I can come back and cut down three. I noticed I was able to get two shelves out of one of the blankets. It is pretty thick and puffy like snow. I think that will be really fun. So I did have to open up another package of this, and I'm going to cut down one more piece because we're going to be decorating three shelves with the gingerbread theme. And I'm going to try to mix it up a little bit of a different Christmas gingerbread feel on each shelf. This is the top shelf. This is going to be the first one we start with. I'm going to start with a few trees. These are Christmas trees that I had picked up at Target Dollar Spot. I love the fact that trees are flocked. They're a little bit different. They have stands. And so I'm just going to kind of add these as little backdrops here behind our gingerbread men that we're going to have on this shelf. Now, the snow blanket can make it a little bit hard to get things to stand up on. Sometimes it helps. Sometimes it makes things a little bit more wobbly, but I was able to get these standing up pretty well, I think. Now, the next thing I want to DIY, I want to make like some candy cane trees to go in like my forest. And I found these great little candy cane picks at Dollar General. They were only $1. Aren't they so cute? Each one of them has like 4 candy canes. And I thought we could make our own little forest, candy cane forest out of these. And they have wires, like you could use them for like floral picks, but I'm actually going to use that as like my tree trunk. And so I just need something for a base. I picked up these wood slices on Amazon. I really didn't expect them to be quite so small, but I'm going to use some of the smaller pieces here for the stands because these pieces are not that big. And I just drilled some holes right in the middle of them. I picked these up just because sometimes I have trouble finding the wood slices from the Dollar Tree, but I think I do prefer the Dollar Tree ones a lot more. These were very small, and I wasn't sure if they were going to be heavy enough after drilling the hole in them to hold up the candy cane forest, but we will see. Most of these had a blunt edge. This one had a little bit of a pointier edge, so I just kind of trimmed that down. I added hot glue and I tested it out. It was not heavy enough to hold my trees upright. So then I thought, well, maybe if I double them up, they will be heavy enough. So I glued it onto a second one, and that was strong enough to hold it up. But you can kind of use whatever you have. You're just going to need something wooden for the base. You might even be able to use some of like the little tumbling tower blocks if you use a few of them. But I kind of like the round idea of the base. And since I'm going to be doubling these up now, I'm going to have to go ahead and drill holes in more of these so that we can have enough weight. They probably still could have been a little bit heavier. As you can see, the drill pressure made that one fall over. But I thought they were nice and small, so they won't really take away from the candy cane forest vibe that I want in the back of this shelf. So I'm going to glue them on. I found that gluing them to the hole and then gluing them into the next hole with the hot glue seemed to work the best and help you to line up the holes in these. And it gives you kind of a forest feel with the little wood slices, right? But I really liked these candy canes. They were so cute. I got these again at Dollar General. They also have like some more glittery ones, but these were my favorite with a bright red and white. Now, I do want to kind of decorate the base of them. They're a little bit dark, and so I want them to look snowy. I picked up some Epsom salt from Dollar Tree. I think the bag is a lot smaller this year. And I'm going to use some school glue and glue that on. It makes great frosty snow. It gives you a really fun texture when the Epsom salt mixes with the school glue. And I really like to use that for like a faux snow. And I'm going to do the same thing here on all 4 of them, just to kind of cover up that, since it's going on that white blanket, so they don't really stand out and be really dark, but you still get that great wood slice feel, just a little bit of a frostier version. And Epsom salt is definitely something I always have to have in stock for my Christmas and winter crafting because it just makes great snow. Now it's time to stand these up. I'm going to do one on the right and left side of each one of these trees. So I kind of arrange them where I think they'll be the most stable. If I need to lean them slightly against the larger tree, I do to help the stability of them. Trying to keep everything upright, everything standing well on the shelf. And we're going to do the same thing here on the outer edge. Just kind of work with it until I get it in the perfect position. And here is our final candy cane tree. Now that we have our candy cane forest, now we can decorate this with some gingerbread men. I think that'll look really cute to have them standing in front of this forest scene with all the snowflakes coming down behind them. I picked up this great gingerbread man at Dollar Tree. I bought it last year and never used it. It was $5, and I'm really glad that I bought it last year because knowing Dollar Tree, it's probably $7 this year. But look how adorable he is. He really doesn't need anything. He's ready to go. He's really high quality. And I'm willing to pay more for the Dollar Tree stuff when it is high quality like him. He's just made really well, I think. So he's kind of the star of the show. On each side of him, I'm going to place a little his and her gingerbread men that I got at Target Dollar Spot. They have weighted feet, so if you work with them, you can get them to stand up on their own. And they did have these again this year at my Target Dollar Spot. I'm going to do our little gingerbread girl over here. And again, you do have to kind of work with them to get the weight in the feet to make sure that they stand up properly without having to use a stand or anything like that. And we're going to do the boy over here. So we have a total of 3 gingerbread men on the shelf. They're all relatively large. And then they have that great candy cane forest behind them. I think that looks really cute. A few more touches. I wanted to add a snowball and a candy. I found this little white pom-pom at Dollar Tree for $1.25, which is a great value. I saw the same thing at Michael's for like $6. And then these are ornaments from Target. They're only $1. They're from the Target Dollar Spot. They had candy canes and they had peppermints. So I'm just going to cut the ornament hanger off of it just to give me a plush candy. And the bright colors are going to be perfect. I can put the big snowball over here for my gingerbread man since he's kind of the bigger guy. And then I'm going to do the candy here on the other side to finish off the top shelf of my gingerbread cabinet. I think it turned out really cute. I love that gingerbread man there in the middle that I got at the Dollar Tree. Now on to the second shelf. This is a little bit of a shorter shelf, so I thought we would do a little gingerbread village on this one. So first I laid down a snow blanket that I had already cut out, and this one I'm going to light up. Now you could do this on all of them, on all of your shelves if you wanted to. It's really easy to with the battery operated lights from the Dollar Tree. I chose the warm white and I just popped in 2 AA batteries. And I'm actually going to add this underneath the snow sheet. And so it will really glow, which is a fun feel to add to the snow blanket. And one reason I'm lighting this level up is because we're going to have other light up things on this one too, with some light up gingerbread houses that I was able to find. So here it is. I have about 10 lights, I think, on this strand. And let me show you how I displayed it. I'm going to have the battery pack just here underneath the snow blanket. Well, I guess really everything's going to go under the snow blanket. But I'm going to have the battery pack towards the front so it'll be easy enough to turn it on and off. And it's just a matter of getting your lights kind of where you want them to be. and then laying the snow blanket on top of them. Doesn't it look so cool? I love that for like a little winter scene. The lights really add a fun touch, I think. Now for the gingerbread houses. I found some really great ones. This one I found at Dollar General today for $5. It's a glittery gingerbread house, so I'm in, and it lights up, and it's even got the batteries in it. So I thought it was well worth that. They had different kinds of them too. I really liked the style because I don't have one like this, but I love the fact that it's covered in glitter, so I had to have it. And I think this is going to be perfect right over here for my gingerbread house village. I've also DIY'd these with the little Dollar Tree houses in the past, giving them a little bit of a glittery DIY too in a previous video. The next gingerbread house I found at Family Dollar for $3. This one does not light up, but as you can see, it's covered in glitter, and so it's pretty large too, and so I love it. So I thought, I want a gingerbread house collection, so I can start collecting these a little bit. I'm going to place that one right in the middle. The third one I found at Target Dollar Spot. This one says Cocoa Cafe, and it's a fun gingerbread house that lights up as well in its windows, and it is glittery, so of course I love it. And I love the variety of houses. So we can have our little gingerbread house village here on this shelf. And since two of those houses light up, I thought that the light up snow would be really fun for that too. Now I want to make this look like a little bit of a gingerbread village. So I wanted some trees, some inhabitants. For the trees, I'm going to DIY them. I have a couple of trees. I think I got these both at Target Dollar Spot. I'm not totally sure about this one on here on the left. I might have got that at Dollar Tree. And it's an unfinished wood. So I was able to stain it with some of that acrylic nutmeg paint really easily just by rubbing the paint all over. It was really easy to do. The other one is more of a finished wood, so it has kind of a glossy coating on it. So it was a little bit more challenging to paint, as you can see. But I'll just use a couple of layers of the nutmeg acrylic to give me that gingerbread feel. I want them to look like gingerbread trees. So a very small version of the one that we DIY'd, the stackable Christmas tree. And I went ahead and painted this one. I'm going to have to dry that to go in with a second coat, and then we can decorate these to go with that theme. Now, once I got the first coat on there, as you can see, the second coat went way better. I just kind of sponged it on. I really like to use those little sponge stencil daubers. I've actually started buying those in bulk on Amazon. I think it's a better deal than buying them at Dollar Tree now. And I'm just going to go over all three parts of this tree. I like the fact that they're different. I can do one on each side, I think, of our gingerbread houses. Now it's time to decorate them. I'm going to use some white puff paint that I got at Walmart. And I got these great little peppermint beads from Temu. They're a lot smaller than I was expecting, which can happen when you order stuff from Temu, but they're perfect size for this tree. So let's go ahead and decorate it. I'm going to use a little puffy paint, and I thought we could do kind of an imperfect, like little frosting, like if you had a gingerbread cookie when you're frosting it. The puffy paint really kind of gives you that look because you get all that texture. And I'm just going to do little curvy lines, kind of my own little rickrack here all along the bottom of each section of the Christmas tree. And then for the top, I'm going to do a big blob of icing, making it kind of come down in little parts here on the side to really make it look like it is well frosted. And I think that looks really cute. It was really easy to do that part. But now it's time for the ornaments. We're going to use the little peppermints. Now they do have holes in the side of them since they are beads, but didn't really bother me. They're kind of made out of like a silicone material, and they were really inexpensive on Temu, so I thought they would be really fun for crafting. And I am glad that I got them, even though they were smaller than I thought. A lot of times I struggle finding small decor pieces like this from Dollar Tree to make DIYs with, to get them tiny enough for something like this, right? So this is my other tree. This one I went ahead and did the little peppermints first. I don't know why. I guess so that I wouldn't accidentally put my finger in the puffy paint. So it might be easier to do the peppermints first, but I'm trying to avoid the very bottom. So I do have room to go in there with the puffy paint. And I'm not going over the whole tree with peppermint, just kind of three sides, anywhere that you're going to be able to see it from the front. And same thing, I'm going to do the little white puffy paint here around all of the edges. And the more imperfect, the better, I think. For the bottom of this one, it doesn't really have a trunk like the other one does. So I made it really thick to make it look like there is just snow sitting at the bottom of a tree by filling it in too. And I think that looks really fun for the frosting effect. I'm also going to do a blob of the icing on the top of that one as the little tree topper, and just making sure that my puffy paint looks pretty good, filling in any areas that might need a little bit more. And that was really easy to use with the applicator on the puffy paint. One more ornament here, one more peppermint, I think does the trick. And we have two little gingerbread trees. I think they look so fun. We can add these to our little gingerbread village. I'm going to do one of the trees on each side of the houses here. So one on each side. And then I thought we could put some gingerbread men inside the village and decorate it a little bit further. I was trying to make sure these stood up properly on the little snow blanket, and I was able to get it to work. I also decided to add some faux snow to this level. This is the faux snow from Dollar Tree. It's very glittery and iridescent. So I thought, since we have the lights underneath the snow, we have the light up gingerbread houses, that this would look really pretty glowing. And so I just kind of sprinkled it all over to make it look like fresh snow here everywhere that you can kind of see the snow blanket. I just sprinkled a little bit of that faux snow, and I think that looks really pretty. For the gingerbread men, I'm going to use these little dollar ones that I found at the Target dollar spot. I picked up at his and her, and they don't stand up on their own, but you can kind of lean them up against something like a gingerbread house. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do one on each side here for cute little gingerbread men. Then I thought a snowman would look really cute in the middle to make it look like they'd built a snowman. I actually found this ornament on clearance at the Salvation Army, so I got it like half price, so it was really, really cheap, and it was brand new. All I did was remove the hanger from the top. There was a little tiny staple, so I had to make sure I got that out, and I can have a little wooden snowman. It's already painted, but of course, being from the thrift store, it was a little beat up, so I'm just going to touch it up a little bit with a little bit of white and black acrylic paints here, just to kind of fix any areas that might need it. But I thought that would be fine. Just a simple little wooden a snowman. And I love buying like ornaments and stuff like that from the thrift store, because a lot of times you can find brand new ornaments like this for a fraction of the cost. I'm going to put him right here in the middle of our little gingerbread village and make it look like maybe the little gingerbread people built him, right? The last thing I'm going to add is snowballs. I picked up some of these red, white, and green pom-poms from the Dollar Tree, and I thought we could do a couple piles of snowballs to make it look like maybe they're getting ready to have a snowball fight. So I'll do a pile of snowballs over by him, and kind of, they're really easy to kind of pile on top of each other like that. And then we'll give her the bigger snowballs right over here so she can retaliate. And this is how the second shelf of my cabinet turned out. Our little gingerbread village. Lots of fun finds on the gingerbread houses. I think they're so cute. And now on to the very bottom of the cabinet. I went ahead and added the snow sheet for this one. My theme for this shelf, I think, is going to be gingerbread men like sledding and having fun out in the snow. Now, this shelf is a little bit bigger because this is the base. And so I am going to need a little bit more of the snow blanket to cover the entire thing, because the width was not quite large enough. I also want it to look hilly. So I picked up this little felt desk tray at Dollar Tree. This was like in the office supplies. You could always use a box or something for this idea too. But what I want to do is kind of make a sledding hill underneath my snow blanket for the gingerbread men to go sledding on. It was a little bit harder to cut than I expected. Feels kind of like a flimsy material, almost like an egg carton kind of feel. but I used some heavy duty scissors and I cut off one end. And then I can kind of cut the side at a diagonal like this. And so I can make a little ramp. So I have a big hill for the gingerbread men to sled down, is what I was thinking. And I did the same thing here on the other side. And I can just pop that right underneath that snow blanket to form our little sledding hill. So I'm going to put it over here on the right side and add the snow blanket on top. And that's exactly about the height that I was wanting for that little hill. I'm just going to make sure that it's completely covered with the snow blanket, and I'm going to cut down a little bit more of that too. I had, the extra piece of it, so I'm going to cut down a strip since this shelf is deeper. That way it covers the back of it too. So I'm just going to kind of add this to the back here. That way all of it is covered, even the little hill that we built. And then I thought we could kind of build up the corner too by adding a little bit more of the fluff. If you kind of pull at this, it's almost like, just regular polyfill material, which can be great for snow too. I'm going to pile some of that here in the corner behind our sledding hill. Now for our gingerbread man, I picked up a little plush gingerbread man at Dollar Tree, and I also picked up a wood sled from Dollar Tree. And I thought we could DIY this sled and we could have, the gingerbread man sliding down the hill on the sled. Of course, I thought bright red would be perfect for this. So I'm just going to use some bright red acrylic and I'm going to paint the sled all over. They have several different styles of these at Dollar Tree. I really don't think it matters which one you get. They're all about the same size, but you're definitely going to want to do the underside as well, anywhere that you're going to be able to see it. So you have that bright red. I think that's really going to pop really well against the white snow blanket. So I did the inside and the outside of my rails. I'm also going to paint the top of it. It was really easy to paint with just one coat of acrylic. That raw wood from the Dollar Tree is really easy to paint. And I think this is going to be perfect. It's just the right scale. And you can use whatever kind of plush little gingerbread man that you can find to write down it. That one that I found from the Dollar Tree was, I think, the perfect scale for this. And his legs kind of bend, so I can make him sit on it. So that will work well. I'm going to reattach the little rope handle here. And now it's time to add our gingerbread man. He has a little scarf. I think he's perfect to add to this. But to make sure he stays in place, I'm going to hot glue him down. I put some hot glue there on his legs and his bottom and glued him onto the sled so he can ride down that hill that we constructed for him. I think it's just the perfect size for him. And he is riding down the hill, having a great time on his little snowy day. I like to decorate with snow, but I live in Florida, so I don't like the real stuff. Now I wanted to add some fun gingerbread cookie trees. So I'm going to DIY them from scratch. I'm going to use 2 of the wood dowels from the Dollar Tree from the 4-pack and 2 of the Dollar Tree wood slices. And these are going to be the bases, and I do need to drill holes in them. Now I had a bad drill bit here. I was using the largest drill bit I could find, and I wanted that so I could put the wood dowels in there, but there must be something wrong with it. I must need to replace it because as you can see, it was burning instead of drilling the hole in there. So I switched it up to a smaller blade, was able to get through there, and then I was able to go back in with a larger size. And I had to kind of wiggle it around in there to make sure that I had it large enough for the wood dowel, but I also want it tight enough to be strong. And this was perfect. I just used my hammer to put the wood dowel in there. And I'm going to do the same thing here for my other gingerbread cookie tree. Now that we have those, we can start working on the gingerbread cookie tree. So I picked up just a hand towel from the bathroom aisle at Dollar Tree in tan. I did have to go to more than one Dollar Tree to get this color. I think my smaller store just didn't carry this color, but I noticed that Dollar General has the same color, but theirs is more expensive. Now I cut it in half so I can use each half will make one tree. And I'm just going to use my chalk pencil here from the Dollar Tree. And I'm not using a stencil or anything because we are just doing a very simple tree shape where you do like the triangles like that, 3 triangles together for the tree. And I'm not going to have it end right there before you get to that different part of the towel. I think this material is going to be a really fun gingerbread material. It's a perfect color and it's a really fun texture. I'm going to do the same thing here for my second tree, just kind of sketching that out. And I just have these pieces folded in half. That way, when I cut one out, I can cut the second part at the same time. And I want to slightly stuff these and make little gingerbread tree cookies for the trees for the sledding area. I think this will be really fun. So it's just a matter of cutting these down. They stayed folded really well. And let me cut two pieces down. And this is going to be a no-sew project for sure. So I have the two pieces here for my tree. I'm going to add a tiny bit of polyfill, not much. I don't want them to be too poofy. I want them to look more like cookies. And I also put the wood dowel in there. I did cut the wood dowels down a tiny bit to make sure they're going to fit on my shelf. I thought to measure them first. I want them to be tall, but I want to make sure they fit. And then I just hot glued the edges together, just kind of working one section here at a time and sandwiching everything inside. Now I can glue the bottom closed, and we have a great little gingerbread tree. I think that's really fun. It doesn't shed too much, but there might be a little bit of fuzzy edges that you can trim up to make it take that great Christmas tree shape. And this was really easy to put together. So let's go ahead and do the other one. I really am glad I thought to check for hand towels. I was wondering if they had this color, and I think the texture is perfect. For this one, I constructed it a little bit differently. It's pretty much the same thing. I just glued one side together first and then put the polyfill inside the wood dowel and then glued the other side shut and also glued the bottom shut. Now we have two little gingerbread cookie trees. I think they're so much fun. Now it's just a matter of decorating them for the little forest down here. I wanted some white rickrack that was a little bit smaller, and I had to buy all these different colors at Michael's to get the white one because even though Walmart said they had them, I went to Walmart and I braved the crowds, and you know what? They didn't have any. And so I had to go to Michael's to get some, but I thought this would be really cute. So I did white rickrack from like one corner of the tree up, like that, like garland wrapped around the tree. And I'm going to do the same thing here on the second one. Now, I'm not going to decorate them the same, but the first round of garland definitely was the same with just the skinnier white rickrack like this. And I love decorating with rickrack, so I'm sure I'll use all the other colors too. This was the one that I was able to find at Walmart that they did have in stock was the bright red. So I'm going to do some extra garland on this one with the red, still working in the same direction, but just kind of going in between the white ones here for more garland and more pops of color on this one. I'm just attaching them with hot glue in little rows like this and covering the entire tree. I think that looks really cute. We're also going to add ornaments. I'm going to use these little tiny peppermint beads that I got on Temu, and I'm going to hot glue those all over as little Christmas ornaments on our gingerbread tree. I think that looks really cute. Now, I don't want them to be the same, so I decided to decorate this one a little bit differently. So I'm going to go opposite corner. So like it's double wrapped here, and they kind of form an X. And I'm going to do that across. This gives it a completely different feel than the other one, but still using the same color of rickrack. And I'm going to do that all the way up here. So kind of like three X's, one red, one white. For the ornaments on this one, I'm going to use some of those little tiny pom-poms from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to do red and white, kind of alternating those around to make them look like little Christmas ornaments all over. And the fact that they are soft and plush kind of goes with the plush texture of our little cookie tree. And I'm going to add some to this one as well, anywhere that I think needs an ornament to fill that into. These were so fun to decorate. I really love how they turned out. Now, for the bases of these, I want them to look snowy, and I also want to kind of cover that hole in the wood slice since those are ornaments from the Dollar Tree. And so I just used school glue all over and then added some Epsom salt for some fun faux snow. And that was just a really easy way to decorate those, make them look frosty as well. And we can add these to my little sledding scene. I think these will be really fun trees, and I love the gingerbread cookie feel of them. They are nice and tall. They fit exactly on the shelf. I'm going to do 2 of them over here on the side that doesn't have our little sledding gingerbread man. And then I thought some candy would be fun down here too. I'm going to use one of these little peppermint ornaments from the Dollar Tree. Again, these are only $1. I think they're so cute. I love them for gingerbread crafting. I just cut the hanger off and we're going to put this here in the back for a fun backdrop. And then I also found this at the Target dollar spot, a little stand-up gingerbread man. And I think it kind of looks like he is snowboarding. So I'm going to leave him as be, put him on the hill as well, and he can look like he's a smaller gingerbread man, like snowboarding down the little sledding hill. And then I also picked these up at the Target dollar spot. They were both Christmas ornaments. They were both $1. They have these little red sleds and these little gingerbread men. These were again from the Target dollar spot. I just removed the hanger from this one, and we're going to stand him next to that sled so he can be like a smaller child gingerbread man that has already slid down the hill and he has gotten off of it. So I just kind of stand him up by leaning him up against that little sled on that snowy blanket. And then I'm going to add some snowballs down here too. Since they're having so much fun, I think that some of the white pom-poms from Dollar Tree would be great for some snowballs. So I'm going to choose some of the larger sizes here, and we can have some snowballs down here if they want to have a little gingerbread man snowball fight down here. I gave the smaller snowballs to the smaller gingerbread man, and then we can put some of the larger ones over here. And then I thought it would be fun to even have one of the gingerbread men throwing a snowball. So I just hot glued a snowball onto his hand, and he looks like he is getting ready to toss a snowball. So lots of fun down on this level of the cabinet. We've got sledders, we've got snowboarders, everything is gingerbread, which is really fun. Now for the top of the cabinet, I love to do a garland, and they have this great red and white and like natural wood be garland at Dollar Tree this year. I thought this would be perfect to customize a little gingerbread garland. Now for the gingerbread beads, I was able to find those on Temu. They're kind of a rubbery material and they are so cute. I cut the little would-be garland down to size, so it'll be the perfect width for my cabinet. And the hole goes straight through the little gingerbread men beads from Temu. And I thought that that would be perfect to hang between the wood beads on this. I just need to loop this. I probably didn't leave enough string on there, so I'm going to just tie on some more twine and tie a little loop hanger on this end as well. I always have some little command hooks on the top of this cabinet because I always love to do a garland or a pennant banner or something up there when I decorate the entire cabinet with the seasonal decor. I'm going to shorten this side too to make both of my loops the same size so it will hang evenly. And then we are going to dangle the little gingerbread men down inside. I needed something kind of skinnier than twine. So I have some of this hemp cord from Walmart, and it's almost like string, but it's really strong. So I thought this would be perfect to string that through the gingerbread man. I did have to knot it about 4 times on the bottom to make it large enough for the string not to go all the way through. And then I found the very middle of my wood bead garland, and I'm going to simply tie this off a couple of times to let the little gingerbread man dangle down. He's got a little Santa hat on. These are really cute. I was really impressed with these beads. And I'm going to kind of string them all. I think I'm going to use them all in this project since they're so small. And again, I'm just using the hemp cord and knotting it 4 times on the bottom because it was so thin, but it worked out really well to be able to get it inside the bead and in between the beads on the wood bead garland here. So I just picked a random amount and skipped that many, and then I'm just going to count here on each side. I do want to keep everything kind of symmetrical, and it worked out really well. And again, I'm just going to tie them all on here. Everything's kind of knotted at the very bottom, and I think they're so cute. It was just a fun way to customize this wood bead garland. I did pick up a couple of packages of these at Dollar Tree because I thought they were so cute. I always love decorating with like red and white for Christmas, so I think I will get a lot of use out of these. And since we have so many large gingerbread men on that top shelf, I think the small touch of the little tiny gingerbread men will be really cute. Just a few more. This is going to be the last one. I'm going to tie this on the other end, and we have a fun custom garland. And again, I really love these little gingerbread men. If I can find the link to these for Temu, I will include them in the description of today's video, as well as any cut files for different things that we've made in today's video. Let me show you how this gorgeous cabinet turned out. It looks so festive for Christmas. It really makes me happy. I love the gingerbread theme and lots of fun little creative ideas on here. So hopefully I inspired you to decorate with some gingerbread men this holiday season. And there's some really fun finds out there as well to add to your decor. This DIY, I wanted to see if I could create a reindeer candle. Now, I needed some wire for antlers, and I could not find any strong enough wire from the Dollar Tree besides the wired jute. So I decided just to use the wire inside of it because I really wanted wire for my reindeer antlers. The reason I only wanted wire and not the jute is because it's going to be above the candle, and I'm going to use a real candle, and I don't want to start any fires. So I just pulled out a piece of the wire. It's very heavy duty. And I'm going to go ahead and pull out a second piece here. And we can just shape this wire into 2 antlers for the reindeer. I thought that would be really fun. I'm going to do a pretty simple shape. What I did was just kind of bend it in half like this. And then I'm going to take one side and make a little branch of my antler, and then go all the way up for like a taller one that has like 2 branches on it, and then pull it back down. A very classic reindeer antler shape. And then it's a little hard to get it really tight with just your fingers. I used a pair of pliers just to get my seam a little bit tighter there, but otherwise I was able to shape it with just my fingers really easily. Even though it's heavy duty, it's still easy to shape. Now for the other one, I want to use this one as a guide so that both of my antlers are kind of symmetrical. So I'm going to do the same thing and trying to make it about the same size, just wrapping it into all of the prongs that we had here before. And my goal is to make the outside of the candle holder look like a reindeer, and then these little antlers can be sticking out at the top. And they should be fine above the candle since they are just made out of metal. So I have both of them. I think that's going to work. This is what I'm talking about. 2 little antlers up above the candle, because a reindeer definitely needs antlers, right? And I was trying to think of something from the Dollar Tree that I could use that wouldn't be flammable. Now, to make the candle holder look like a reindeer, we are going to wrap it with Dollar Tree twine. I'm also going to use some of the Dollar Tree wood beads. I chose 2 of the smaller black wood beads for the eyes, and 1 of like the medium kind of size red bead for the nose, so we can make it look like Rudolph. And we're going to start right here at the bottom. I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue here on the candle holder to secure that and start wrapping this around the candle holder. I want to make sure that they all kind of stay in like a spiral order so that everything lays flat. And I only use hot glue if I think it's necessary, but otherwise just kind of wrapping it tight. This is a straight candle holder that goes up and down there from the Dollar Tree, so it is easy to keep it tight without having to glue it all down. Now I got about halfway, and that's where I want to put the nose and the eyes, but I kind of need to know how much twine I'm going to need for the whole thing before I do that. So I went ahead and wrapped the whole thing and then just pulled half of it off after I cut it down to size, because I need it to be cut so that we can string the wood beads on there. I thought I could string the red bead here for Rudolph's nose about halfway up the candle holder. And then I'll also be able to string the eyes and take advantage of the fact that we're using twine. And it will help them to stay on as well. I think right about there would be good. I moved it down a few rows. I used a little hot glue to secure that row. And then just keep wrapping that around, trying to cover as much of the glass as I can. And then I'll go up a few rows here and we will add our eyes. I'm going to glue it here just to make sure it stays in place, and then string both of our little black eyes on here. The holes in the smaller beads were a little bit smaller, which was a little bit more challenging. I decided to put some hot glue here on the tip of the twine, which made it a lot easier to thread through that wood bead. And I went ahead and did both of the black beads here for the eyes. And we can string these on here, space these out a little bit for little eyes for our reindeer. A little bit more hot glue to secure that so it stays in place. And then continue wrapping the rest of the candle holder. I want to go almost all the way to the top so it looks like a brown reindeer. And I think that's so cute and whimsical. I try to keep it really tight here. And then I thought about, I think the antlers probably need to go on soon with the length of them, like right there. I was just trying to figure out a secure way to attach them. I decided to use little pieces of burlap. I just cut up some burlap ribbon into some small pieces that I can use to help me glue that to the glass. We are going to be wrapping the twine on top of it, so that will help keep it on there, but I just hot glued the burlap over that, and that really seemed to work well because just gluing the metal wire on there was not going to be very sturdy. I did the same thing here on the other side, just kind of mirrored my antlers to make sure they're opposite of each other and on each side of the little reindeer's eyes like that. Now I can add a little hot glue on top of those to secure my twine and continue wrapping. This is so cute. It doesn't really matter what size twine you use, but the smaller the better for the wood beads. This is, I think, the smaller one. Dollar Tree seems to vary a lot on their twine size. And I'm going to keep wrapping this, completely covering up those little burlap pieces that blend in really well with that jute twine until I cover it all the way. I put a little hot glue here on the top row just to make sure everything stays secure and make sure that our antlers stay covered, and then secured my last piece here on the back. I think it's looking so cute. Here's our little reindeer candle holder. It's kind of a medium-sized candle holder. It's not too small. And I just kind of rearranging my antlers. You can bend them, of course, since they're made out of wire, kind of make them face whatever direction you want. And then I burnt off all the fuzzies here on my jute, just using a lighter just to clean this up a little bit. It was actually pretty good. This thinner twine doesn't seem to get quite as junked up as some of the larger twines do, like from Walmart. But I think he's looking really cute. This is the candle we're going to put inside. This is just an ivory candle from the Dollar Tree. And I just went ahead and took off all of the packaging, and it's the perfect size for this size candle holder. And then I'm going to kind of put his eyes a little bit closer together. I think will make him look really cute. And so it's really easy to do because I can just slide them. Now I did want to add a little bit of color here to the antlers. And so I added a little bit of brown acrylic paint to the front of these. I definitely didn't want to do anything that would make this flammable, but I wanted to make sure you could see these a little bit better. And with one coat of brown paint, it kind of gave it a copper finish to the wire, which I think is really cute. Let me show you how our reindeer candle turned out. Super whimsical and fun. This is what it looks like lit up. And he has such a cute little face there with a little reindeer nose. And also let me show you what it looks like lit up in some lower light conditions here so you can see what it's going to look like at night. Really fun. I really love the idea of the little wire antlers. I think they turned out so cute. What do you guys think about this one? My camera was definitely struggling trying to focus on those wire antlers. I guess it wanted to focus on the cute face there that it had. But I think it turned out really fun. Hey guys, if you haven't yet, don't forget to like this video. I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. We're trying to get to 50,000 subscribers. For the next DIY, I picked up 2 of the metal bow lanterns from the Dollar Tree. The really tall one was $5 and the shorter one was $3. I have no idea why they're black because that doesn't really go with my Christmas. And they did have a huge problem. For some reason, they resined these little glass candle holders inside, so you cannot remove them. They are permanently in there. So if you want to paint them, you're going to have to go to a lot of work to get that done. Now, I wanted to spray paint them. I like to spray paint metal items. I think it gives you a really nice finish. And so I really have to protect everything. The first thing I did was just go in with some painter's tape and close up the top so paint doesn't go inside of them. And then I'm going to have to cover the outside of the candle holders too. I'm just going to use some plain printer paper for that. and try to work around the base of this. And they did have some really sticky stickers here on the bottom as well. I just removed those, added a little Goo Gone there, and I want this to fit down inside the little metal part there at the bottom, like that, and we can make a little sleeve to go around it. This is a little taller than I need, so I'm just going to trim this piece of paper down, and then we can tape this shut. I want to just protect all of the glass because the spray paint is definitely going to go everywhere. And I must have did a pretty good job of taping it all off because I didn't really have any of the paint on the glass. Now, one thing that was a problem is they don't resin them in like perfect either. And so there's some areas of the black metal that you can't paint, but it is at the very bottom of the candle. So I think it'll be okay. I discovered this. I was watching another crafter. I can't remember who, someone on Facebook, and she had the same problem. She painted hers gold and they were so cute. And I want to paint mine too. I want to paint mine bright red for Christmas. I think that will look really cute. So just like the other one, I taped off the top, covered it with paper, then I taped the paper down. I wanted to tape it off as much as possible, but I don't want to cover up, of course, any of the black metal that I want to paint. So that looks pretty good. Now I do have to remove all this goo from that sticky sticker that was on the bottom of it. I just used some adhesive remover and kind of try to scrape that off because I'm going to want to paint the bottom of it too. And I want to do like a bright red. Now I have a spray primer, and since they are black and I want to go to red, I thought priming them might make it look a little bit better. This is the primer I'm going to use, and I have it because I'm using it in another DIY today. So I thought, you know what? I bet these will turn out really good if I prime them. Normally, I don't, but I did on this one. So I just sprayed some white primer on that, and then I'm going to keep turning this around and spraying all of the inside and outside edges of this, trying to get all of the loops of the bow and all of the sides and the insides of the ribbon. I think it's so cute. I just don't know why they're black. I guess they could look cute if you added like a little bit of color with a candle, but just not really my vibe. I wanted mine to be red. Now, this is my second one. I'm going to paint the bottom of that one with the primer and then paint this. And then I will set these aside, let these start drying, and so that I can go in with some spray paint. Now, if you were going to paint yours with acrylic paint, I think you could get away with it and you might not have to tape off the glass as much as I did. But for spray paint, it was definitely necessary. I'm going in with some bright red spray paint. The color is apple red, and I sprayed the bottom. And I also need to kind of paint the underside of like the bow and stuff like that too, and the top of it. So I sprayed it from this direction too. And while that's drying, I can start here on the taller one. I kind of got red spray paint all over me from this DIY because my box wasn't quite tall enough doing this here in my garage. And I think I got the overspray on my arms and it made it look like I had a sunburn, which was kind of funny. I did the same thing with that one. Now that those are dry, I can flip it over and we can paint some red on this side. Isn't that color so pretty? It really makes me think of Christmas. I love using a lot of red and white for Christmas. I don't usually bring in a lot of green. Sometimes I do. But I mainly like red and white for my Christmas decor. But of course, I also have coastal Christmas decor, and we do have a coastal Christmas DIY today. I'm painting all the edges, keep turning it until I see no more of the white. And we have 2 red lanterns. We just have to set those aside to dry, and this is how they look. I think they're so pretty. I don't know if priming them really did make them a brighter red, but I feel like they are really popping with that red. So time to remove all of the painter's tape and paper and see if we did a good job of taping these off, and I was pleased to see that we did. Now you can see the bottom of the candle holder. It's going to be, of course, black there where it is resined on. And some of them are like kind of lopsided in the tray, so I wasn't able to get the inside of it. But we're also going to DIY a candle ring, so you won't be able to see that in the end. I think they look pretty good right now. And I want to add some candles to these. This one is 6 inches for a candle, and this is the 3-inch candle. Now, I found a 3-inch candle at Dollar Tree, and I got the 6-inch candle at Michael's because I couldn't find anything at Dollar Tree that big. This is the one from the Dollar Tree. I just added a little white sand in the bottom to cover up that black and to kind of look like snow. And we're going to add this candle right here. And then didn't have any white candles. White candles would look good too, but I don't really mind the ivory candles in there. It's a fun contrast against the white sand. And this is the larger candle that I got. I don't think Dollar Tree ever carries them quite this big. And if you don't want to use real candles, you could always use some battery operated candles as well. I think that'd be really cute to light up these lanterns, especially if you were going to use it outside. I'm going to be using mine indoors and adding a little bit more white sand to this one. And this is what the Christmas bow lanterns look like so far without any extra decor. But of course we need a little candle ring in there. This is some Dollar Tree greenery that I have that I cut up last year to use on a tier tray. So I saved that and I'm glad I did. And I can just reuse it. I took some wire and I wrapped that around the end. I'm going to take another piece, wrap it about halfway, also wrap it around the end. And I'm going to continue doing that to form a ring that can just fit on the inside. If you had a candle ring this size, you could totally use it as well. But I'm just going to kind of custom make one. I like this Christmas greenery from the Dollar Tree because it's not real green. It's, more of a muted color and it's got a little flocking on there, kind of snowy. I like that look. And I just wired it all the way around, wiring it to itself there in the end. I'm going to make one more of these for the other one. And I wanted to buy 2 of these so that I could put them together. I think they just look so pretty together as a set. So I definitely wanted to do 2 of these today for you guys. And again, I'm just going to wire this around. And I do have some small items I think we can add to this to make this extra special. Don't they look so much better red than they do black? Dollar Tree, if you're watching, why did you make these black? Make them red. Okay, so the large berries are the first thing I'm going to add. These are the red berries that have like the little snow effect on them. And beware, these are $1.75 now. They have these like in the regular aisle with, I think the $1.50 it is now, Christmas stuff. And I was kind of surprised to see that they were $1.75, but I guess they're worth it. They're pretty cute. I actually cut mine off the wires just to make it easier. And I'm just going to hot glue those, one in each space I have here between the ribbons. And I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. I thought we could add a couple things in each little space. And I do kind of want it to be symmetrical. So, it looks good from all directions. So we have 4 on each one. The next thing I thought we would add was jingle bells. So I have some little silver jingle bells from the Dollar Tree. These are almost the same size as the berries. And I'm just going to hot glue them in there. The little clasp that you can tie them on is what I'm adding the glue to. And again, I'm going to add one in every section. So each section has a berry and a jingle bell. All I had was silver, but I think gold ones would look really pretty in there too. And I think that looks so fun and festive for Christmas. So let's go ahead and do the same thing here. I'm going to kind of rearrange that so I have enough room to add my bells. And I add 4 bells to this one as well. And we have a set of Christmas lanterns. I'm going to use these indoors, but you could probably use them outdoors too. If you had like a covered porch or something like that. I don't know how sturdy they would be out in the weather or anything like that with the glass on there and stuff like that. And they might hold water. So that's what I was thinking with that. Mine are definitely inside, but this is what it looks like during the day. I think they're so pretty. And I did switch out that candle on the left there because I had one that was a little bit wider that matched to the color of the other candle a little bit better. So I did swap that one out, but you could definitely use the Dollar Tree candle. But this is what they look like lit up at night. Isn't that so pretty? Really gets me in the mood for Christmas, which is hard because it's, still pretty warm here in Florida, but we did have a couple of cold nights. Again, during the day, bright and festive with that red color. I definitely recommend painting them, even though it was a chore. For this DIY, I wanted to see if I could make a rustic reindeer sign. So I picked up a square sign from the Dollar Tree, and I loved this one because it had a wood frame. And I'm going to try to make a wood panel sign with a reindeer silhouette on it. So I went ahead and popped this apart. It came with like a plexiglass glass in there, so I'm going to save that for another DIY for sure. But what I wanted to do was fill this frame up with some paint stirrer sticks. I picked these up on Amazon. I'll make sure these are listed in my Amazon shop under wood supplies. They were inexpensive, and I was trying to find a way that I could have some more inexpensive ways to cover things with wood than using the Dollar Tree wood rulers, but you could always use those or any kind of paint stir sticks that you have. I like the fact that these don't have handles on them. They're just plain pieces of wood. So I just cut them down to fit. I went ahead and stacked them all. One pass through my saw was a really easy way to cut them all down, and they fit inside the frame just like this. I thought we could replace the picture and that plexiglass in there with just the wood. The problem I had though was that it was not a perfect fit, and I didn't want to split one of these. So I'm going to fill in my frame with a piece of bamboo that I have. I also get these on Amazon. This is a lot thinner, but it was the perfect width. I'm going to glue this one into place because it was thinner, but the rest of them should just kind of stay in there, I think, when I put the back of the frame back on. This has a hanger, so I won't have to make a hanger or anything with this. I just put the back on, and we have a wood panel sign. Now to stain it and make it look really warm and rustic, I'm using some Antique Wax by Waverly, and I'm going over all of the paint stirrer sticks and the frame as well. Even though the frame is sealed, you can still stain it. It's pretty easy to stain, and it won't stain probably, the same color as the raw wood, but I think it'll be a little bit more of a complementary shade. And the bamboo also stained a little bit lighter than the paint stirrer sticks, but in the end, I don't think you can really notice, but I was able to fill it up all the way because I want to do a silhouette on the top of here. If you don't mind a little bit of a slatted look, you could add a little bit of space in between yours if you have the same issue that I did there at the end where it didn't fit exactly with the width of these paint stirrer sticks. Now I'm also going to stain the sides of the frame too. And I have a fun idea to do like a little reindeer silhouette on this, add some little Christmas details. This was so easy to make, and it turned out so cute. So high end, and it was just made with such cheap materials. Now, originally I went in and tried to do the reindeer silhouette with vinyl, but I didn't really like the way that it stuck to the wood, the stained wood, and the fact that it was slatted. So I thought cardstock would work better. So I'm just using some regular cardstock, and I used a light grip mat, used my Cricut to cut this down. If you would like this free SVG cut file of the reindeer, I'll have it down in the comments below. I did design this one, and I tried to make it look a little bit more like a reindeer, less like a deer. They're still pretty similar. And carefully removing this, I used the light grip, but it is a new mat, so it was still kind of stuck on there, but wanted to make sure that I didn't tear anything. And this was so much more durable than the vinyl. I'm going to be attaching it to the board with Mod Podge. I probably put too much on there, but I did want to cover the entire sign with Mod Podge and have it be thick enough for that cardstock to stick well to it onto the wooded slats, because I didn't glue those in. I just kind of have those in there, but they are pretty tight against each other. And with cardstock, you can kind of go over it right away without having to wait for it to dry. But just trying to smooth everything out here, since I did get quite a bit of Mod Podge on here, but it's just a matte finish Mod Podge, so it should dry pretty well on here. Now, if you don't have a Cricut machine, I will also include a printable where you can cut out the silhouette yourself. But of course, it's going to be easier to cut the intricate antlers and stuff like that with a Cricut machine if you have one, so I will include both. To decorate it, I'm going to use some Dollar Tree greenery. This is like Christmas greenery that I had cut into individual pieces. I think I used it as filler for a tier tray, but saved it at the end of the season. And also some of the small berries from the Dollar Tree. So I think 2 pieces of the tree greenery and maybe 3 of the small berries in each of the top corners would look really cute. I just attached it with some staples here, and I'm going to hot glue these on. They are on wires though, so I'm just going to snip those off. The little pet nail trimmers from the Dollar Tree work great for wire, and I use those a lot in my crafting. And I'm just going to attach, I think all 3 of them would look best, right? An odd number. So I just hot glue these on. I think the greenery stapled on is definitely the way to go. It's gonna make that stronger. But for the berries, hot glue is plenty strong enough. For the other corner, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm only gonna do the top corners, just gluing the greenery on and finishing it off with some berries. I was surprised to see these berries were $1.75 at my store when I bought them there the other day. I guess they're considered greenery, so that's why they went up to $1.75, so beware. But this is how it turned out. I think it looks so cute. I'm going to add a little bit of a flocking look of snow here to the greenery with just a little bit of white acrylic paint to finish it off. But I think it looks so rustic and fun. Just using a Dollar Tree sign, some paint stirrer sticks, and some cardstock. I really love that. I love a silhouette DIY, and I always love incorporating the animals of the season into my decor, especially with a lot of warm wood colors like this. So I think it's really fun. What do you guys think about this one? Now, the next DIY, I'm going to do the 24-inch stackable decor of the gift boxes. I've never found these at my Dollar Tree. I was so excited. I've been looking for them, and I wanted to see if I could DIY them. They are not painted. Great colors, though. Look at these. I don't know what they're thinking with these colors. It'd be great if they would just gave them to us white. I did unscrew the bow from the top one, and we're going to do these in coastal decor. So the first thing I'm going to do is prime them. The reason that I'm priming them is that I've watched a whole bunch of fails of people trying to DIY these and the paint not sticking. I don't know if it's because of the plastic, the temperature, or what, but I thought I would use a good primer on them first, just painting them white, and hopefully my paint will stick because I'm going to be using the same kind of paint that they were using, the 2X. Now, I have seen a recommendation for a paint that they used that did work, and that was the Rust-Oleum Universal. And I did find it in a pretty color, but I couldn't find it in 3 colors. I want all of my gift boxes to be 3 different colors and all coastal colors. So the primer did work. I mean, I think if you used acrylic paint on it and sealed it, you might be just as good. I have used that a lot, but haven't done the actual gift boxes before, so who knows? I don't know what they do to these plastics, but there seems to be something about them that they don't like spray paint. But I was determined. Priming seems to work. I don't know. I didn't seal them because I primed them, and then I also used a spray paint that had like primer in it, but I don't know. I hope that they hold up outside. We will see. These are the colors I'm using. I'm using the Modern Mint, the Ivory, and the Aqua of the Rust-Oleum 2X Ultra Cover Paint and Primer. 2 of those were gloss. 1 I could only get in satin, but I heard that gloss works well, so we will see here. I'm going to start with the top gift, and you do have to kind of spray it from both directions. This one is the Modern Mint. I thought I could do the Modern Mint on the top, the Ivory in the middle, and the Aqua color on the bottom, and those would be perfect coastal colors. But you could always do whatever color scheme you like to decorate for Christmas. These are going out front, and so I wanted them to match the rest of my coastal decor. The medium gift is going to be this ivory color. And putting the white primer on there probably made painting these so much easier. I didn't really use a lot of paint. My cans are still pretty full after spray painting all of these, even though these are pretty big. And I painted this one ivory. They do have the ribbon on the side. I'm not going to paint those. I thought we could attach real ribbon to that to really give the Christmas gift feel. This is my largest one, and this one is going to be aqua. And again, I just kind of painted. A couple of them had kind of ridges that made it a little bit easier to stand up. This is almost as big as my giant box that I like to paint in, but I was able to paint them all pretty easily. Just going to turn them around and cover up those obnoxious colors that were on there before. It's going to be very soft and coastal. I haven't done a lot of new coastal DIYs lately. I'm really struggling trying to get views on those. And I used to have a pretty large audience for like just the coastal specific videos. But here lately, I can only get about 2,000 people to watch them. And I have almost 50,000 subscribers. So be sure to support the videos and like, comment, share, any of those things, watching the whole video. That really helps the YouTube algorithm. Okay, let's decorate these gifts. This is dry now. I'm going to use some of the burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree, just the regular kind that comes like this. And I'm going to wrap that over. So it's going to be a little bit wider than the ribbon, but I think that's fine. And I think I'm just going to wrap it tight to it so I don't have to glue the whole thing down. I can just kind of glue the ends like this. And I thought I could just kind of overlap the sides. Now, I kind of forgot that clicking these little stackables together can be a little bit of a challenge sometimes. So I actually made mine go inside, and you're probably not going to want to do that, especially on the top of this one. I did have to go back and shorten some of these to get them to be able to click together a little bit better because the ribbon did get in the way. But I kind of forgot about it at this point. So right here, you see me gluing on the inside. What you want to do is glue it a little bit short of the area, give it some room to click there. And the next gift will be sitting on top of it. You won't be able to see it. But the bottom, you could definitely overlap it like that with no problem. As you can see, I'm just hot gluing the ends. And the large present and the medium size present wasn't that big of an issue. It was the top package that I really had a lot of problem getting it to click on, which I've had that problem with these stackables in the past, but the ribbon definitely interfered a little bit. So keep that in mind. But I think this is a nice neutral color to go against that nice beachy blue. And I have some fun ideas for decorating the outside of our packages too. I've seen some people like cut like little Christmas shapes out of Cricut vinyl. That would be really cute too to decorate them. I'm going to kind of do like a larger decoration on the side of these on top of this ribbon. I decided to use the burlap ribbon for all of them. On this one, I was smart. See how I glued it on the inside of that so it wouldn't interfere with the clicking? I don't know why I didn't think to do that on the top. So when you're doing this one as well, you want to glue it a little bit on the outside of the open square there and not go inside like this because I had to peel that off, trim that a little bit, and glue that back down. Here at the bottom, I made the right decision and cut it short. You definitely don't want to interfere with the mechanics of this. I did think about adding a colored ribbon to this one since it's just ivory, but I like the idea of using burlap ribbon on all of them. It's just classic and coastal. And they kind of get smaller, the ribbons too, as you go up, the smaller size gifts, but I think they look good with the same size ribbon on all of them. So we have another wrapped gift. Let's go ahead and do the top one. I think this mint color turned out really pretty. It's very subtle, but I like it. I like that they're all different colors. And I'm going to cut 2 pieces of ribbon for this one. This one's going to be really easy, kind of crisscross and go from one side to the other. And this one I made the right decision. Glued them right here so it doesn't interfere. It's not a super thick ribbon, but you really need that plastic to have room to be able to click on there. And I do like the fact that they are stackable because if you do need to take them apart for storage, you can. I always have a terrible time trying to have enough room to store my larger DIYs like this. They usually end up in the attic. And I crisscross this and kind of come down. I have so much seasonal crafting supplies since I've been doing this so many years here on YouTube that I have so much that I have stored out in my garage. And I have a 1-car garage that I also craft in. It's also my laundry room. So I was thinking about renting a storage unit for it. And I was like, oh no, that would be super inconvenient, I think, to have to go to the storage unit because you never know when you're going to need your craft supplies. And I'm going to use coastal starfish, sand dollars, and some faux coral. I like these little tree ornaments from the Dollar Tree. You get 2. These are just Christmas ornaments that are trees, but when you turn them upside down and pop off the little plastic tree trunks, they look just like coral. Now, the starfish and the sand dollars are from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. They didn't have any at my store this year, but I have stocked up. I buy a case of them every year. But you can always get starfish, sand dollars, that kind of stuff on Amazon too, or Temu, other places, pretty inexpensive. But hopefully they bring back the Shore Living line to Dollar Tree. That probably really hurt my coastal this year. Coastal's definitely suffered this year for crafting for me, but it's probably all Dollar Tree's fault, right? And I'm going to paint them. I mixed together a white together with an antique parchment to kind of give me an in-between color. And I also filled in all of the ornament hangers with a little bit of spackle because I didn't want my coral to have holes in the bottom of them. I'm only going to paint the one side that you're going to be able to see. That's going to kind of tone down the glitter that was on there before because I want them all to look the same. These are resin sand dollars and starfish. They're not real ones, but they don't have the best color, so I thought painting them with this color would make them look a little bit more realistic too and give them a really good texture. Again, only painting the top of them. I went over them with that white and ivory mixed together, and finally the starfish. I was thinking the largest item is a coral, right? So we could use that for the largest gift. And I want to decorate all four sides. This is going to be outside, so I want it to be beautiful and coastal from every direction. And the second item is probably the sand dollars, so that can go on the medium-sized gift. And the smallest are the starfish, so I think I'm going to put those on the top gift. But I've painted them all. Now they're going to look a little bit more uniform, and I think this is going to make everything so coastal. You could also use seashells for this too, if you had some larger ones. So again, this is the larger one. We're just going to use some hot glue onto this, and I'm going to glue this directly onto the ribbon here. Just like that with some hot glue. I use Gorilla Glue, hot glue, and it does seem to hold up pretty well for me outdoors, especially if I'm gluing to a fabric or a rope or something like that. So trying to make sure that I have them about the same height. And don't these just look just like coral? I use these every year. I have so many coastal Christmas DIYs that I've made with these. I've made trees, Christmas trees out of them. I've made wreaths. I've made all kinds of fun things out of them. They're my favorite ornament. They're really the one I consistently buy every year. Now for the middle gift, our little ivory gift, we're going to give them the sand dollars here. Just like that. If you wanted to add a pop of color to this one, you could paint your sand dollars a different color. But again, I wanted it to all really look good together since they're all going to be displayed together. And if you did not want to stack these, you could use them as planters and things like that too, and display like some faux plants in them. That would be cute too. But I really like the idea of a gift stack for sure. It just makes sense to me. So I'm going to try to stack these. I was able to get these two to click together. It was the top one that really fought me, but I did kind of go back and trim the ribbon down on all of these, so they'll be easy to attach together like this. But so far, they're looking very coastal. I'm so glad that I decided to decorate all of the sides. All we have left is the top gift. I'm using the starfish on this one, hot gluing that on. These Dollar Tree ones always have a couple of the rays that actually are lower than the other ones, so you don't need to put glue on all of them. Really only the ones that are actually going to touch it, and gluing these onto the ribbon too. Now, instead of the bow that was on there before, the plastic bow, I thought we could do something a lot better. So I want to make a fun coastal color bow, something really big for the top of it to replace the plastic bow. But if you don't mind that plastic bow, you could totally use that. Just cut a hole in the ribbon. These are the ribbons that I'm going to use. One is the fall ribbon and one is the Easter ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I thought this beachy color of blue mixed together with this burlap would be perfect. The blue is very close to the aqua of the large gift, and we'll tie that in nicely. And I want to do a big poofy bow. So what I'm going to do is start here with the blue one. I make a tail and I'm going to have the loop on the top. Kind of a different bow than I've ever made before, and I'm not even sure if I did this properly, but it turned out kind of cool. For the burlap, I pinched it and I added a tail and a loop for this one too. Then I'm going to go through and give myself another blue one here on top and another burlap. And then I'm going to do one more blue and one more burlap and then cut a second set of tails here. And I'm going to be adding more to this too to make a big, huge bow for the top. And I just trim this off right about here so my tails are about the same. And I'm going to take a zip tie and wrap around and cinch this like this. So kind of like the normal way I make a bow, but kind of on its side. That way the ribbon will all be exactly where I want it to be. And I'm going to add some more here. I had enough ribbon to be able to do 2 more loops of each color instead of 3. But I'm going to have these loops kind of going out in a different direction. So again, I pinched it, gave a tail, and then alternated colors doing the same thing. And that's about all the ribbon I have here. So I'm going to trim that off. Zip tie these together too, but I'm going to actually zip tie it all together with the other bow. See how I have it kind of going the other direction? And these are all wired ribbons, so it should be easy enough to shape this and make a big fluffy bow for the top. And I like the idea of using two colors together. I think that's so pretty, and I think these colors are really pretty. Don't they look good together? I've never used these two ribbons together. They're the same width, and they're just very similar except for color. I dovetailed all of the ends and tried to make all of the tails about the same length, like that. And now it's time to try to shape this up a little bit. I was able to cinch all of the folds in the bow inside that zip tie, and it all stayed put. For the tails, I'm going to have them kind of go out to the side like that. So I have a flat bottom to my bow, and I think I pulled it off. I think it looks pretty cool. Just definitely a lot of shaping, trying to alternate the colors between the blue and the tan so they're all not the same. And we're going to attach this to the top gift like that. Look how big this is. It's almost as big as that small gift. I'm just going to attach it with some hot glue here, right there on that top ribbon. And try to put it on here without smashing the entire bow, but getting that glued down really well. Now I have kind of tails coming out in every single direction. And also I have a really large bow. Time to pop this together. I did try to pop this on here and it did not want to go. So I did trim that ribbon down a little bit and was able to get it to pop on there. But it's so big I couldn't really show you. So this is how it turned out. A little close-up view here of our coastal gift stack. Isn't this so fun? I know all of my coastal friends out there will really love this. I haven't seen anybody decorate their gift stack like this, so I definitely wanted to give it a go. So pretty. For this DIY, I picked up one of the Santa hat chair covers. I actually got this one at Dollar General because it was $1. So it was cheaper than the Dollar Tree. But you know, I think Dollar General is raising their prices too. With Halloween, I was encountering that a little bit where they were changing the $1 items to $2, which I was disappointed to find. But I think it's exactly the same as the Santa hat cover from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut the little triangular part off of the top, the very hat, to give me this square panel. And what we're going to be making with this is a Santa's toy bag pillow. I thought that would be really fun. So I'm going to want this to be more shaped like a bag, not like this giant square. So I'm going to cut like a third of it off. I'll leave one seam on there. The white strip here at the bottom can be the bottom of Santa's bag. And we can make this into a pillow, I think. And we can even add some words to it. I thought that would be fun. So I have the outside layers against each other, so it's kind of like inside out. I'm going to use hot glue for the other seam on the other side of the bag because this is definitely going to be a no-sew pillow, and glue that straight across just like that. I'm also going to glue the bottom of the sack too, but first let's go ahead and trim this up a little bit to make the edges of the bag a little bit smoother. You're going to be able to see those in my design of my Santa bag. And then, of course, we have to glue the bottom shut too. So I thought the bottom would be perfect in white. That way it wouldn't interfere with gathering the bag together there at the top, and it definitely gives you that Santa Claus look. So we have 3 sides attached because we had the initial seam and then we glued 2 of them. Now we can turn our little pillow cover inside out. And what I want to do is add some words to mine. You don't have to, but I thought this would really make our little Santa bag special by adding some words on it that Santa would have on his bag. I kind of wanted to see if I could actually use some heat transfer vinyl on this if it was strong enough to hold up to my heat press. I've never used this thin polyester from like the dollar store in my heat press, so I wasn't sure. But I'm going to use some Cricut Smart Iron-On, and I'm going to cut a piece of the vinyl down. But first I tested an extra piece that I had cut off the pillow, and I'm going to do it at 315 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 seconds, and it held up wonderfully. So this is definitely a go. I cut my vinyl down. If you're going to do this with an iron-on with an HTV like this, make sure you remember to mirror the design. And I do have the SVG that I designed down in the description of today's video if you would like to recreate. I made mine about, let's see, 8 inches wide for this size. And I am going to weed off the extra heat transfer vinyl. What I thought it would be really cute to have this say is property of Santa Claus. So I just designed these words to go on the outside of the bag, kind of like a little bit of a branding. And it's just a matter of weeding these. I really love the smart iron-on and the smart vinyl, but one thing about the HTV is that when you do use the mat, it's easier to kind of weed this because you have to kind of pull and tug at it to get that vinyl off of there. But I was able to get that all off, and my bright pad definitely helps for that because I do have problems seeing the white. And this is what it's going to look like. We're going to attach this here to the front of our little toy bag, just like that. And again, we're going to press it. I did what Cricut recommended for polyester, which was 315 degrees for 30 seconds. And it actually worked really well. I was really impressed. I'll definitely have to use my heat press again with some of these Dollar Tree items, like maybe the stockings and things like that. I'm going to cool off my heat transfer vinyl here with my cooling block. This does help a little bit to speed that up so that we can pull off the cover sheet and see if this worked. And it was a great success. Look how well that worked. And I've used these little Santa hat chair covers to make Santa hat pillows before, but I've never made a toy bag, so I thought that would be a really fun take on it. It is going to need a lot of polyfill. I did sacrifice an old bed pillow for mine that needed to be replaced anyway, and that is a great way to save some money. I hate spending a lot of money on polyfill for DIYs when you can just use old pillows like this. I just kind of filled it up a little bit at a time. I didn't want it to be too full, but I definitely wanted to make it look like it was like a bag filled with toys. So I just kind of filled it, tested it as I went until I was happy. I want you to be able to read all of the words on it really well and gather the excess bag here at the top. I think maybe just a little bit more polyfill and I will be happy with this, and we can tie this off. I'm going to gather it together and then just use a zip tie here to gather the fabric together. And then we can also use a rope to tie that off, and that will kind of go with the decor a little bit better. So I just attached the zip tie there, trying to make sure I don't have like any polyfill coming out of the top of the bag, and trim that down. And then I have just a little partial piece of rope here. This is the nautical rope from the Dollar Tree, the thinner one. And I'm just going to cut a piece of this down to tie off. I just want to knot that on something really cute and decorative, but not enough that it's going to cover the words. So I trimmed it above the words. And this was such a fun little Christmas pillow, a little decorative pillow. It's not one that I will actually use as a pillow, but to sit around and look cute. A little property of Santa Claus. And if you don't have a Cricut and you don't have a way to add words to it, I think it would be really cute just plain too. I think you would definitely know what it was with the red and white plush. Property of Santa Claus. Isn't that fun? I really love that idea, and it's a fun DIY for those little Santa chair covers. For this DIY, I wanted to see if I could make a pine cone tree. So I picked up some pine cones. I think I got these at Walmart. The candle holder I got for half price at Dollar General the other day. It's regularly $3, so I got it for $1.50, and it's so nice. But you could always use the gold candle holders from the Dollar Tree too. And the foam cone I actually got on Temu. It's a little bit larger than the one at Dollar Tree. Well, it's probably a lot larger than the one at the Dollar Tree, which is why I upgraded that a little bit, because I wanted to make a large pine cone tree. Now, you could always find pine cones in your yard or your neighborhood. I do not have any, so I have to buy them for sure. Sometimes I can find them at Dollar Tree and sometimes I can't. Very hit or miss. But I had these left over from Walmart, and so I hadn't used them, and they're scented too. So I thought some apple cinnamon scent would be perfect for this. I'm also going to use some gold metallic paint, and what I want to do is give them a little bit of gilding. I don't want to paint the whole thing. I just want them to have a little bit of glitz. And it's kind of important to do this at this step. So I'm using a couple of empty paint can lids, and I'm going to stand these on upside down like this. And I'm going to take the metallic gold spray paint and just give them a dusting. I definitely want them still to be brown, but I want them to have a little bit of a gold gilding on them. Now, you could also do this with white spray paint if you wanted yours to look a little bit snowy, or you could just leave them the regular pine cones. That would be pretty too. They have kind of a fun design on them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these pine cones apart and have pine cone scales. I'm going to cover that entire topiary with the little pieces of pine cone, and it turned out just magnificent. And I kind of estimated how many I was going to need for a cone that size. And I chose a total of 9. And you know what? I had exactly enough pine cones. So I estimated perfectly, which is great because I didn't want to have to paint them again. Now, for the cone itself, it's just white foam, and I'm trying to remember the height of this. I can't look it up on my Temu app because I got a new phone and I don't remember my password, which is probably a good thing to keep me from shopping. But Temu does keep contacting me to do a sponsored video. I don't know if a lot of you guys get your crafting supplies on Temu. If you do, or if you'd like to see a Temu video, let me know down in the comments below. I just painted it with some brown acrylic paint, and now it's time for the work to begin, dismantling the pine cones. At first I tried with scissors, but I didn't feel like I was having a lot of luck, especially when I kind of got down in there. So I switched from scissors to pliers, and I kind of went back and forth on this first one, but out of the two and actually pulling them, definitely the pliers. There's no way I'm going to be able to pull all of these out. And, it did break some of them, but most of them came out pretty intact. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to start with, I think I started with like 6 pine cones, and I went ahead and removed all of the pieces. And once I did one, I would just kind of pick out all of the good scales and kind of throw away the rest of the stuff so we can start covering this tree. Now, this was kind of a labor of love. As you can see, it's going to take a ton of the pine cone scales to cover this, but the final result is definitely a work of art. I'm so glad I decided to do this, but I'm also kind of glad that I did not do 2. I thought about doing 2. I'm going to start here at the bottom, add a bead of hot glue, and you can do a bead and do like, 4 or 5 of these before your hot glue starts to set up. And I'm overlapping the bottom of the cone a little bit. Now, if you wanted to recreate this with supplies from the Dollar Tree, you totally could. You could use the small foam cone from the Dollar Tree, some of their pine cones, and their gold candle holder, or any of their metal candle holders, and just paint it gold. So I just wanted to make a larger version. So that is why I used some supplies from some other stores. And I went all the way around. So we have one bead like that. I'm not going to cover the bottom with pine cones. You're not going to be able to see it down there. And the reason that I painted the foam cone brown is because you might be able to have a few gaps here. I did try to nestle them together as closely as I can, and see how some of them are like really gold, some of them are mostly brown, and that's what I wanted. I wanted a variety, and I'm just trying to make it work with shapes and sizes, trying to keep it in an even row if I can here for the second row. Just hot gluing again, like about 5 of them at a time, and then starting a new row. Now, some of mine pulled out all the way, so they kind of had like they were curved and had a point on them. I didn't bother cutting those off. I think that's going to add even more character to these, where those little pieces are going to be kind of peeking in between some of the other pine cone scales. And I'm just going to keep building this up. I've done projects with pine cone scales before. I've covered pumpkins. I'm trying to think what else. I think I've done something else on my channel before. But as you can see, they have this beautiful pattern on one side of the scale, and the gilding is definitely the trick. I really love that. And doing that while the pine cones were still together just made it very random like this, because if I were trying to get that look after I put it all together, it would be a lot harder to get that cool look where they're all a little bit different colored. So we're going to speed this way up here and just keep covering this entire thing with pine cone scales. you're going to be able to see about how far 6 of the pine cones got me. I was able to cover like maybe 2/3 of it because, the bottom part's definitely going to require more pine cone scales than the top. And I was really hoping that I had painted enough of these, and I'm glad to say that I had the perfect amount. So, took apart some more of the pine cones. I left one there just in case I didn't have to take it apart. That was definitely the work of the project. Hot gluing these on was pretty easy. And I did use a little bit of heat there trying to get rid of any visible hot glue on those, but you got to be careful because you don't want to melt the foam. It held up pretty well to my hot glue, and I don't know if that's because of the foam or the fact that I painted it, because sometimes the foam, likes to dissolve under the heat of the hot glue, but this one worked out pretty well. And I like these larger size cones from Temu. Definitely a lot cheaper than trying to buy them at Michael's or somewhere like that for sure. And we're almost done, but you know what? That last pine cone is going to have to be pulled apart too. So I did that with my pliers, and now we can finish this off. And I mean, I had the exact right amount to do that for this pine cone Christmas tree. I love the look of this. It's so pretty and classy. And the great thing about it is that it's not specifically just for Christmas. I could leave this up all winter long. And I have a lot of really expensive decorative trees that I've bought like at home decor stores. And this will fit in perfectly with my Christmas decor and definitely looks like something that I purchased. Now, this is a candle holder that I'm going to use. It has an open top. It's just for like a taper candle. And I'm going to use that open edge, kind of imprint a circle right here on the bottom of the foam, right where I want that to be. And I'm going to kind of dig out a little opening here so I can add the candle holder inside of it. It's a pretty tall candle holder, so I should be able to put it inside to make this sturdier, and it's still going to be really tall. I picked up that candle holder at Dollar General on clearance for $1.50. I think it's so pretty. I picked up a couple of those. They're definitely made out of a nicer material than the ones from the Dollar Tree. And as you can see, it fits in there, but I think I need it to go in there a little bit more. And I'm just using like a flathead screwdriver to kind of dig that out a little bit. Add some hot glue here inside the cavity and add the candle holder here and scrape some of this extra hot glue in there too. Just like that. It doesn't have to be perfect on the bottom that you really can't see it there. And I just slid that in like that. And that worked out perfectly for the foam, and it gave me a nice sturdy base, and it was super easy. This is how it turned out. My pine cone scale Christmas tree. Isn't it gorgeous? I really love this. I had to show this off to my husband first thing. I was like, look at this Christmas tree. And all in all, I think it took me a couple of hours to put this together. So definitely a time consuming project, but I think it turned out beautiful. I'm so glad I decided to DIY it. Isn't this so pretty? I think it's so classy looking. For this DIY, I'm going to use a little Dollar Tree sign. I love those for a stand. And then I found these little wood squares from the Dollar Tree. You get 4 to a package, but they have rounded edges and they are thicker. They are 4 inches by 4 inches, and I thought it would be a really cute little reindeer crossing sign. So what I did was I designed a printable. I just printed mine out on cardstock, 4 inches by 4 inches, and I will include this free printable if you'd like to recreate it down in the description of today's video. I thought it was really festive and cute. It says Reindeer Crossing on there with a reindeer and some snowflakes. I'm going to cut this down as close as I can to the green. I wasn't sure if I had made it the perfect size, but I think it'll be okay if you can see a little bit of the wood on the edges. So I did trim it up a little bit more so it's just straight to the green border. This has rounded edges just like that little wood sign that I found from the Dollar Tree. I don't know if these are meant to be like art panels or if they're meant to be coasters, but I really liked the size of these. And I like the rounded corners. I just attached it with some matte Mod Podge, just using a paper towel to make sure that it is good and attached. And then I can go straight over and seal it with some more Mod Podge, which is one benefit of using the cardstock for sure. Once I have that dried, I have a little reindeer crossing sign, and I can use one of these little metal signs here to attach it. That way I have a stand, but the metal doesn't always hot glue well. So I'm going to use a stronger glue here from the Dollar Tree, the multi-purpose cement. I'm also going to use a little hot glue here in the center to get it started, but that will make it a lot stronger than just hot glue alone. And I just glued that onto the sign just like that. So easy, such an easy way to make a standing sign. For the base of it, I thought we could decorate it with a little bit of reindeer moss. I thought that would be fitting for the Reindeer Crossing sign. And it has a little wood base on there. They have these signs in white and black. I pick them up at Dollar Tree all the time because they're great for crafting. And this worked really well because the metal circle fit behind that size wood sign just perfectly. I just attached some reindeer moss here to the base. Nothing crazy. I didn't really have anything too miniature that would work for that, so I thought a little bit of reindeer moss would give it a little bit of character. And then I'm going to add a little flocked or snow effect with a little bit of white acrylic paint and a paintbrush to make it look like, the moss is a little bit frozen here or has a little bit of snow on top of it. And here is our little reindeer crossing sign. This was such an easy DIY to make, and it would look really cute combined with some other Christmas decor items to really set the mood for Christmas. Isn't that so fun? I really like that. If you have like a little miniature reindeer or something like that that you could attach to the stand, that would be cute as well. Or you could display it with a reindeer decor that you have in your Christmas decor. For this DIY, I wanted to do a Christmas cardinal sign. So I picked up a little wooded slat sign from the Dollar Tree and I designed a printable of a cardinal that I printed out on cardstock. And I will share a link to this free printable for the cardinal in the description of today's video. I removed the hanger here from my sign. This is the square sign, the slatted sign from the Dollar Tree that does not have the frame. Makes it a little bit easier not having to work around the frame. And I just sketched that out on my cardstock with a pencil so I can go ahead and cut this down to size. What I want to do is I want those boards to look like white boards with a cardinal on there. But instead of painting it, I'm just going to use the white from the cardstock instead of trying to paint out the cardinal and painting it. So I'm going to cover the entire thing like this, and then we'll cut it up and make it look like boards. So I used Mod Podge here on the Dollar Tree sign. I love this sign. They have the ones with the frame too, which would work. You're just going to have to measure the inside of your frame to be able to cut down your piece to go right inside. But this one you can go straight up to the edges like that. I carefully place my cardstock right on top and press that down with a dry paper towel to make sure that all the areas are glued down and has good contact, especially the corners. Now, once I have that on there, I can go ahead and start sealing it. So I'm going to use Mod Podge here on the top, which is one reason why I like to work with cardstock. I don't have to really wait for it to dry. And I went over it with a coat of that to help start sealing that on there and gave that a quick dry with my heat gun. I did have one area here at the top that wasn't super flat, maybe a little air bubble. I'm going to go over that with a little bit more Mod Podge and see if we can get that completely flat. Then I used a sanding sponge here on the edges to make sure I didn't have any paper coming over the sides. I did a pretty good job of cutting that down perfectly and getting it on there. And the cardinal is so cute. I think cardinal for Christmas, definitely. Now I kind of looked to see where my slats are and I used a razor blade and kind of carefully followed the slat. You don't want to mess up you on this step because then you'll cut your paper and it'll be hard to repair it. So make sure that your line is straight. It does have kind of a large groove, which made it a little bit easier in between the different boards. And I cut it a couple of times just to make sure that it's really cut through and I have a little separation between the boards. And now I still get that pallet board look, but I have this beautiful cardinal on there. Once I cut it, I went over and sealed it with one more coat of the Mod Podge to really make this a permanent sign. And I have the little cardinal like perched on a little twig there. And I also want to add some items for like Christmas decor on this as well. I do want to distress this to make them look like old boards, a little bit of a farmhouse vibe. So I took some Antique Wax by Waverly and a little chunky brush that I picked up at Amazon, and I just worked in one direction and I did a very light dry brush on top of the white. And now it really looks like old weathered wood. So pretty, very subtle, but I think that definitely gave it a lot of character. Definitely doesn't look like just a sheet of paper. Then I have to kind of feel for where my hanger was here. I poked new holes in it just using my little Cricut weeder. I used so much spray paint in today's video. I got so much spray paint on my hands and on my arms. I definitely looked like I had a sunburn. I was like, wait a minute, I haven't been outside in the sun. It was kind of funny. Red spray paint has got to be probably the messiest. I probably should have done that outside, but I wanted to show you guys what I was doing. Now for the Christmas touches, I'm going to use some of these little garland ties, the wired garland from the Dollar Tree, and some of the little berries. So I took a piece and I am going to cut that in half. If you don't need some wire cutters, the pet nail trimmers there from the Dollar Tree work fantastic for that. And then I'm going to cut another piece. I think I really only want 3. I like to work with odd numbers, like 3 pieces of greenery. It's a little long, but we can always shorten it a little bit. I use that wire to wire this right in the middle, so I have 3 of them attached, and trim them down a little bit. I think that looks cute, just maybe up in one corner like that. And I do want it to coordinate a little bit more with that leafy green color of the tree on the picture. So I used some leafy green acrylic and I went over and just distressed that greenery. That way I have 2 different colors of green coming through, and it's just going to make it look more high end anytime you add like another color to your greenery. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to actually just staple it on up here. These signs from the Dollar Tree are pretty thick, so a staple gun works perfect for that, and have that kind of branch out like that. Then I'm going to use the little red berries from the Dollar Tree. I think these are the medium-sized one. They're a little bit smaller. And I just cut them off the wire, and we're going to glue 3 of the little red berries up here in the corner. I thought about doing both corners, but I thought that might be too much. I think 1 is going to be plenty. And then for a little character, I dusted them with some white acrylic paint to make them look like they have a dusting of snow. Also on the berries, I probably distressed the berries a little too much, so let's wipe some of that off. And I want my berries to be different colors too. Instead of just the plain red, I wanted a little bright red in there too to make that coordinate with that bright red cardinal on there. So I have like 3 different colors on the berries for a little bit of dimension. And this is how it turned out, our little cardinal Christmas sign. So pretty. I love cardinals. I love like the meaning behind cardinals. And definitely one of my favorite birds, especially for Christmas. So bright and cheerful with the red color. So I definitely wanted to include them as a Christmas DIY. And again, free printables, as always, are in the description of today's video so that you can recreate. For this DIY, I thought we could make some little Santa Claus Christmas light posts. For the posts, I'm going to use some of these little black metal candle holders. I picked up 2 different sizes, so I'll have 2 different heights, and we're going to make 2 little Santa little lanterns. I'm going to use the little mini candle lanterns from the Dollar Tree, and these are battery operated. They have batteries in them already, and they have a little candle inside that lights up. But I thought we could make them look like Santa. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to pop off the little plastic rings here. I did have to cut those to get those off because they won't really stand up on their own, and I want to make little light posts with these. I want these to look like Santa Claus, and so I'm going to take them apart and paint them bright red. They have 2 screws holding the bottom on here, the switch, the light, the battery, and the little plastic candle. And then also the glass pieces come out as well. I need to take everything apart so I can paint this all red without getting that on everything else, including the glass. Now they have 2 little tiny screws that hold the bottom on. I took mine and put them in one of the candle holders here in a minute so that I wouldn't lose them. And then I set the candle holders aside when I went to paint these. And of course, I lost them. So I thought that was really funny. I put them there for safekeeping, and then I immediately put them somewhere and lost them because I laid them down, of course. This is the color of spray paint we're going to use, a bright red color, and I want to spray the inside and the outside of these little mini lanterns that bright red color because you'll be able to see inside. So I'm going to kind of prop them up upside down in the spray paint lid like that, and just kind of spray paint the sides and inside all of those. And I'm going to do that with the second little street light as well. and they were really easy to paint. I thought this would be the easiest way to paint the inside, and it probably was, but again, I don't always like to use spray paint because sometimes it can take a while to dry in our Florida humidity. And so I did have to wait for this part to dry, which was a little bit more challenging than if I would have just used acrylic paint. But the bright red color really makes them pop, and they look so festive. Now that I let them dry, I can go ahead and put these back together. Always test these first. Sometimes they don't work, these little mini lanterns from the Dollar Tree, but I just pop the candles back on. The candle holders, I'm just going to leave black. I think that's going to be perfect for the look I'm going for. And it's just a matter of putting these all back together. The little glass pieces go into the side. There's a little plastic clip at the top that keeps them into place. And so I put all 4 of our little glass panels back inside. And that's when I discovered that I didn't have any screws for this. So what I did was just used a little bit of hot glue in the corners and popped that in. It worked just as good as the screws, probably better, because one of the screws wanted to kind of strip out a little bit on me when I was removing it anyway. But I'm going to do the same thing here with the second one, and I think they look so pretty in red. Dollar Tree should make these in red. They come in white and black as the colors that I have found on these. And I did the same thing by adding the glass and hot gluing the bottom onto this one. Now, I'm going to want to leave the bottom of these accessible because I need to be able to turn them on and off with the power switch, but I thought we could make them look red and festive too. So I just used some red acrylic paint here on the bottom, and that way you won't be able to see any of the white. The entire lantern will be this bright red for the holidays. And I do want to add some fur on these too, because of course we were going for some little mini Santa lanterns with this DIY and kind of make them look like light posts was my plan. So I painted the bottom of the second one as well. And now it's time for some fur. I found some white faux fur from the Dollar Tree, and this worked really well. It was so easy. The fact that they had this all ready to go. I'm just going to cut 2 little strips down, maybe like a 1/2 inch. They weren't very wide, to make a strip to go under the top of each lantern. It's really going to give that Santa Claus vibe to these. And like with any fur, when you cut these, they are going to shed a little bit. So trying to trim these, make them look like they're similar, since one piece was kind of an end piece. And I'm just going to wrap them right here around the top. I just start with hot gluing on one side like that, right under the top of the lantern, and wrap that all the way around to give a little fluffy look here. I secure it with some glue at the corner and trim that down. It was really easy to do this part, and it added such a fun little Santa appeal to these little lanterns. I did the same thing here on the second one. And normally I would attach these to the candle holders to make them all one piece, but since I need to be able to turn them on and off, I'm just going to sit them on top instead, and they fit on there perfectly, so this worked really well. If you were to knock them over, of course, it would come apart, but functionality made it a 2-piece, a DIY, but this is our set of 2 little Santa lanterns. This is what they look like during the day, not even lit up, but they're still super cute and festive. And I think they would look cute just about anywhere. You could add these to your decor. You could add yours to the kitchen. I think I'm going to put mine in my kitchen, or even in a bathroom counter. They would be really cute just about anywhere. Let me show you what they look like lit up. They are pretty bright, the little battery operated candles. It almost has a little bit of a blue glow, I would say, to those lights. And they look so festive lit up at night. Aren't those so cute? Our little Santa Claus, little mini lantern light posts. So fun. I really hope you enjoyed all of these Christmas DIYs. Now it's time for the final reveal. Let me know which crafts were your favorite down in the comments below, or just come say hello. I love reading all of your comments. You can find me at Crafty Beach on YouTube, on all social media. And this is a QR code if you would like to buy me a coffee for Christmas. Enjoy the final reveal.
Jingle bells ringing in my ear. Jingle bell, a sound that's oh so dear. Watch out for reindeers are falling down. We stay up waiting for Santa tonight. He climbs down the chimney at the speed of light, while we're dancing around the Christmas tree, hugging and kissing just you and me. Carolers are singing outside our door, lovely songs we all heard before, as they walk from house to house to wish us all a Merry Christmas Day. Oh, a Merry Christmas Day. Oh, we're chasing snowflakes as they're falling down, and follow Rudolph all across the town. Later we meet under the mistletoe, while Santa's busy saying ho, ho, ho. We're feeling jolly, eating Christmas cake, and then we go skating on the frozen lake, saying hi to every friendly face, and later we warm up by the fireplace. Carolers are singing outside our door, lovely songs we all heard before, as they walk from house to house to wish us all a Merry Christmas Day. Merry Christmas Day. A Merry Christmas Day. Oh, yeah. Carolers are singing outside our door, lovely songs we all heard before, as we walk from house to house to wish us all a Merry Christmas Day. Yeah, a Merry Christmas Day. Dance around the Christmas tree, wishing all a Merry Christmas. Dance around the Christmas tree, wishing all a Merry Christmas. Dance around the Christmas tree, wishing all a Merry Christmas Day. Jingle bells ringing in my ear. Jingle bell, a sound that's oh so dear. Frosty the snowman is all around town. Watch out for reindeers are falling down. We stay up waiting for Santa tonight. He climbs down the chimney at the speed of light, while we're dancing around the Christmas tree, hugging and kissing just you and me. Carolers are singing outside our door, lovely songs we all heard before, as they walk from house to house to wish us all a Merry Christmas Day. Oh, a Merry Christmas Day. Oh, we're chasing snowflakes as they're falling down, and follow Rudolph all across the town. Later we meet under the mistletoe, while Santa's busy saying ho, ho, ho. We're feeling jolly, eating Christmas cake, and then we go skating on the frozen lake, saying hi to every friendly face, and Later we warm up by the fireplace. Carolers are singing outside our door. Lovely songs we all heard before. As they walk from house to house to wish us all a Merry Christmas Day. Merry Christmas Day.
Thank you for making it all the way to the end of today's Christmas crafting marathon. I also like to give a huge thank you to all of my YouTube members. Thank you so much to Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Maren Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Donna Tanner, Red Mama, Pal Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Jenny, Debbie Austin, James Osborne, and Lizette Thomas. Thank you guys. You guys rock. If you would like to become a Crafty Beach Bum member too, just hit the join button on this video. You can do it on your phone or your computer. You're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube. Now, would you like even more Christmas crafting inspiration? Be sure to check out one of these DIY videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting for Christmas.